bring in the best players who could all play for the national side. And it worked. It wasn't long before England were dominating the international fixtures they played, and it was largely down to Corinthians. In fact, in 1894 and 1895, they played consecutive games where Corinthians provided the entire England 11. But the thing is, the players refused to play professional football. They didn't believe in it. They wanted to spread the values of sportsmanship, competition, and played for the love of the game. It also helped that most of the players were Oxbridge graduates who didn't need the money. But instead of entering the league and cup competitions, they played exhibition football and toured the world, bringing the beautiful game with them. And it was this which spread the game throughout the world and made it so popular. Most famously, in 1910, they travelled to Brazil. And the locals in Sao Paulo were so impressed, they started their own team under the same name. Yes, the same Corinthians who won the FIFA Club World Cup in 2021, one of the biggest football teams in Brazil. Now, they were global superstars, and despite not being professional, Corinthians drew in the crowds. Everybody wanted to play them, everybody wanted to watch them. So much so, they regularly played the winners of the FA Cup in what eventually became the Community Shield, winning most of the time. They actually inflicted Manchester United's worst defeat, 11-3, a record which still stands to this day. Now, fast forward to today, Corinthian casuals still don't pay their staff or players. The ethos of sportsmanship is still at the heart of everything that they do. And even though they're a side in the lower leagues, if you make the trip to King George's Field in Tolworth just off the A3, you'll most likely bump into Brazilian Corinthians fans who often make the pilgrimage across the globe just to watch their founding team play.
Good morning to you. This is the Weekend Sports Breakfast. I'm Faye Carruthers. With me, former Chelsea and Republic of Ireland striker Tony Cascarino.
Good morning, everybody.
Lovely for you to be with us. 3 games for you coming up live on talkSPORT on this FA Cup Saturday. We start with Manchester City against Liverpool. Pep Guardiola says he wants to see a dominant performance.
We have been 7 in a row for finals, 3 semi-finals, FA Cup. So Liverpool, and with our people, hopefully they can come help us join the title that we won and reach in a semi-final.
That one kicks off at 12:45 on talkSPORT. Down on the south coast, Arsenal take on Southampton, looking to keep their treble dreams alive. And ahead of the game, Gunners boss Mikel Arteta expects a tough test.
We're going to play a team that is in a really good moment. They won so many games recently. It's in a really good moment. You know the expectations, the crowd, the environment that they're going to create. So we are ready for that.
That one is also live on talkSPORT today. It's an 8 o'clock kickoff. And we've got a huge fight tonight as well. 2 of the heavyweight greats, Derek Chisora and Deontay Wilder, face each other at the O2. Chisora's manager and head of Queensberry Promotions, Frank Warren, joined talkSPORT this week and said whatever the result, he expects this to be the final walk for both men, regardless of the match.
Chisora retires after this fight, win or lose, and the same with Deontay. This is the last hurrah for them, so hopefully they come out the ring safe, to both of them, and they'll make a few quid, and I think they should call it a day after that.
Don't forget you can hear Chisora against Wilder live on talkSPORT tonight. That is from 10 p.m. Now then, give us a call, drop us a WhatsApp this morning. Tell us how you're feeling on FA Cup Saturday. It's quarter-finals time. Perhaps your team played on Good Friday in the EFL. 03717 223344 is the number to call. Or you can text us on 81089. This is the Weekend Sports Breakfast on talkSPORT. I am completely all over the place with the day. I keep thinking, is it Saturday? Is it Sunday? Good Friday yesterday. We were off. We were both at EFL matches as well for ITV. How was yours?
A very good Friday for Millwall. And I've got to say, Middlesbrough were terrific. First half, honestly, Faye, they tore Millwall apart. Millwall were fortunate. Alex Neil, after 5 minutes, changed his formation because he could see problems, the way Borough were playing. They were a really good side. They got punished because they weren't clinical in the first half. But fair play. Millwall have got incredible character within their squad. The amount of blocks you see in the match where Millwall bodies are getting in, stopping shots, getting in the way, making it difficult for Borough. And by the end of the game, and certainly second half, whatever Alex Neil gave them in their tea and that team talk, it worked because they were superb in the second half. And the boy Coburn, Josh Coburn up front for Millwall, really like him. And I've seen a lot of him now, and he's grown a lot in the last year at Millwall. I remember a day I watched Harry Kane join Millwall as a loanee and then also at Leicester. And, you saw him man up, get stronger, get bigger. The boy Coburn's older, but he's now 20, I think he's 24, 25. But he's certainly progressed a hell of a lot this season.
Yeah, you can definitely see the progress. I was at Charlton and that result got a rounded boo around the valley. You'll be unsurprised to know. That was I was.
And
there.
Roy, did you get?
I did get to speak to Roy. Yeah, we'll hear from Roy a little bit later. Of course, Roy Hodgson back in the dugout 2 years after he's been away. He actually forgot his age because when I interviewed him afterwards,
that's a good thing.
He's 78 and he kept saying he was 79, and I didn't want to correct him. I was like, "You're 78, Roy."
He'll take that. He'll take that.
I tell you what, though, it was so lovely to see him. Really, really good.
And look, I've been lucky enough to do a couple of functions with Roy, and you can tell he's just addicted to football. He's loved it. And why wouldn't he be? And when people of a certain age come back to football and that drug gets you, it's what he loves.
Do you know what? It's the calmest I've ever seen him in the dugout.
Right,
ever.
Okay.
He was because that was one of 7 games that he's got. He's not been told, he has to go in and win everything. He's just been told he needs to steady the ship. And it just looked like he was soaking.
And did it steady? I mean, I got the result, but did you feel like it was a real steady ship performance by the team?
It was a weird game in many ways. So Charlton didn't start either half particularly well, but Bristol City had one-on-one chances that they should have scored, and then they were just absolutely bombarded by Charlton at the end of the second half, but just couldn't get the equaliser.
Yeah.
But it was anyway. It was a good game.
Yes.
And Charlton just need 3 points really to secure their safety, but they're pretty much safe, I think. And Bristol City have 6 games to enjoy Roy Hodgson, the Roy Hodgson effect. Speaking of Roy Hodgson, former England manager, of course, and we're going to start the show with England, Cass, because I was in and around the team at St George's Park for talkSPORT this week. Watched the 2 friendlies, a 1-1 draw against Uruguay, a 1-0 defeat to Japan as well. But feels as if that's kind of left more questions than answers before the World Cup.
Yeah,
too cool.
Everybody's going down that road, Faye, on how many sort of more problems there were than were first thought about England. And I wasn't surprised by the results. Of course, England losing, that is a surprise in a way, but the performance, when you select so many players, and then obviously a lot go back after the first game, and you saw one team that was organised in Japan, which they were organised.
Well, they were excellent.
Yeah, and by the way, I was in Qatar when Japan beat Germany. I was at the game. I was commentating on the game.
I remember.
And then they beat Germany again just afterwards, 4-1. So it's not a big surprise. They go to Scotland and win. They're a decent outfit and looked dangerous, especially in the first 20, 30 minutes of the game. Am I surprised? No, I thought England did look a little bit disorganised, bit disjointed. They didn't do the offside trap very well when they attempted it, which caused them problem because the Japanese were kept getting behind England in certain areas. And I thought they did it really well. But you can't judge friendlies, Uruguay and Japan, as where England are. I think what he's tried to do is see who's going to convince him. Who's the player that's going to go, do you know what? I'm going to make a surprise call here. And, maybe it's Garner at Everton.
I think it could be Garner.
Come in via the back door. There's always players that come in via the back door. Who is that player? And I felt that Garner shone. I thought Harry Maguire, when he came on, he looked like he'd never been away from the England team.
Yeah.
So there was good things as well. But obviously it gets overridden by the really, by the result. But
Yeah.
I wouldn't take too much notice of that.
I think he's learnt a lot. Let's hear from the England manager. He spoke to me after that defeat to Japan and said he was always aware that this camp was going to be a difficult one.
We knew before that we have a quite tricky window in March because our players play a lot of football and they're invested in a very difficult league. We knew that we play very difficult opponents who will arrive in the best possible lineup. On top of it, we had, I think, 7-8 injured players, maybe even more. That all needs to be factored in. We had 2 very new lineups and we tried to help the player in a bit of a different structure. So we tried. We got punished for not a lot. We got punished for 1 counter-attack and they scored. I think we had 19 shots, but only 2 on target, so we missed a bit the punch. But we wanted to learn. We learned, and it's on us now to take the right conclusion and look forward.
Yeah, they have got to look forward. There are positives to take. One of the questions that I had, because 10 changes obviously means that the squad is a bit unsettled. There were quite a number of pullouts through injury additionally. But Phil Foden is the interesting one for me. Obviously, Harry Kane had to pull out, had a bit of an issue in training and, faces a fitness battle for next week's Champions League quarter-final against Real Madrid. But in terms of the backup options that we have for Harry Kane, Dominic Calvert-Lewin went home. Yeah. Dominic Solanke played, but then was given the opportunity in the second half of the Japan game. But Thomas Tuchel opted to put Phil Foden, what we thought was actually in a false 9 role initially, but actually Tuchel explained to me afterwards that he put him on as a number 10 alongside Cole Palmer. Right. And he was being very diplomatic about it, but essentially saying he didn't quite get enough from either of them. He'd wanted them to go in, full of creativity, grab the game by the scruff of the neck, and he didn't quite get that. What options do we have?
Very few. I think Dominic Solanke's probably not going to go. I think likewise Calvert-Lewin. I think Ollie Watkins will probably come back in. The false 9, or like you say, trying to match up 2 players who haven't played and who both want the ball all the time, but don't have anybody in front of them. So they can end up going sideways all the time in their game, unless they skip past someone. And Palmer, for the goal that was conceded, was a typical example of getting too many bodies in a certain area. Yeah. I feel sorry for Foden because I said, 2 years ago he was Football Writers Player of the Season. Mm-hmm. And he's only 25. But he does feel like I'm looking at a Jack Grealish scenario where he's been slowly edged out of the City team and not played as much as he would like to. And he was meant to be the Kevin De Bruyne replacement and he's got all the ability. Now, whether it's as good as Kevin De Bruyne, I wouldn't agree with, but it's not far behind. But I feel like Foden's lost a little bit of belief in the first time in his career because he's not a go-to player now. Sorry, he's not a go-to where you go, he's in my team. He's a certainty. He's not his certainty in the City team, and he's certainly not a certainty in the England team. And I think it's hurt Phil. And like Grealish, who started to get edged out of City, and then obviously with England, and now is on loan at Everton, and injured. And I just feel like Phil's got a little bit lost in the last year or so. Yeah. I feel for him. I
see exactly what you mean. Pep Guardiola has laid down a challenge to him, says the only player that the only person that can sort this out is Phil Foden himself, and he does look a little bit devoid of confidence. I spoke to his England and club teammate Mark Gahey in the tunnel after the game as well. Let's hear from him because I asked him what he sees from Phil in training, and he says there's more to come.
Phil's a fantastic footballer. I think we all know how good he is. I think it's important that we just have his back, stick with him because we know how good he is, and allow him to be himself because I'm sure he'll come good. And when he does, I think we will be raving about how good he is. It's important that we just stick with him because he knows how good he is, and we all know how good he is.
Yeah, we all know how good he is. I watch him he is the most naturally gifted footballer in that team, it feels. He doesn't have to try, he just floats around. But when he actually puts on an England shirt, something happens to him when he gets on the pitch that we kind of lose that little spark that we're used to kind of seeing. And I don't really understand why.
Well, the only thing I can assume is slightly a mental thing, the expectation on him to be the next whoever, Gascoigne or whoever, that type of player that can change a match. The expectation on him.
Is that expectation still there? Because, he's in his mid...
Well, you've just heard Mark Gay say how great he is.
But he's in his mid-20s now, so it's not like that kind of young pressure, if you like. But I don't know. I can't quite work out. So for a long time, he was deployed on the left-hand side and it wasn't quite working. And, the players got in each other's way a lot in Germany at the Euros. Now, he'd always said to me he wants to play number 10. Gareth Southgate has said no, that's not a possibility. That's become a possibility.
They're all seeded out, aren't they?
He's been playing more of an 8.
Yeah.
So it feels very... Maybe he's just confused.
I think that's a fair word to use. I would say, would you say when he was 23 he was a better player than he is now?
Probably.
Yeah.
Maybe wasn't playing in himself.
Yeah, and I think he'd feel that as well, because he's being utilised in all different ways and positions, like you said, and it's come at a cost because whether he's confused or what's quite wanted of him. I think there's that feeling of what does my international manager want of me and what does my club manager want me to be? And if you're not quite delivering, it would affect him. Of course it would affect him. That's the first time in his career, I would say probably this start of this season, where he's gone into a season feeling uncertain about where he actually is with club and country.
So the question is, does he go? Does he get his ticket for the plane?
Honestly, I don't think he will. But I still, if I ever wanted a player more with them, Phil, to re-find his form, reignite himself in some way, because he's such a talent. I call him the octopus because I feel like he's always got 6 legs or 8, like 8 tentacles.
I was going to say they've got 8.
Yeah, no, 8. I was going to say 8 tentacles, and his legs are everywhere, aren't they? You can pluck things out of the air, and I just feel like if England would be a better team if Phil could become what the expectation of him when he was 17, 18, 19, everyone knew. And Mark Gay's right, he's a great player. But he's a great player that's not playing well.
You're putting the expectation on him now.
Yeah.
It's not helping. Listen, we've got to talk about Chelsea next. What are the next steps for Enzo Fernandez and Liam Rossini after that spat? You're listening to Weekend Sports Breakfast on talkSPORT in partnership with Volkswagen Transporter, working with you.
In terms of greatest Premier League managers, because if he does leave, he will go down as one of the greats.
Yes.
What's your top 3?
Sir Alex, Pep, and Jose for me.
What?
They're
Jose Mourinho?
Yeah. What do you mean, Jose Mourinho?
Not Arsene Wenger?
Arsene Wenger was in the conversation.
Oh, you're putting Jose in there?
Yeah, of course I'm putting Jose in there. 5.5 years, three Premier Leagues. Arsene Wenger had
Premier League all-time manager.
22 years he was there, Arsene Wenger. Won 3. Jose, 5.5. Won 3.
I mean, in terms of...
Sir Alex, because he was there...
Sir Alex is no question, right?
He's the Don. He is the Don.
Yeah.
Right, he's the Don.
Yeah.
Pep's number 2. Can't argue. Because it's longevity as well. How long's he been there, Pep? Is it 9 or 10 years? I think I'm right in saying that. If it's not 9, it's coming up for 10.
26.
Okay, so 10 years he's got. Okay.
Yeah.
He's won 6 Premier Leagues.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, no, but Arsene Wenger changed football.
Oh, he did.
Arsene Wenger, when he come to the Premier League, he revolutionised the game. He completely changed the way we play now, the way the Premier League is, what it's become. Really and truthfully, was down to Arsene Wenger.
Without question, because Arsene Wenger changed the attitude. So I remember Arsene Wenger used to come in, used to get the players coming in on a Sunday for a warm down, right? And I was at Ipswich at the time. All of a sudden, I was at George Play. He's got us coming in for a warm down on a Sunday. What's all this about? Arsene Wenger started it.
Yeah.
So I drive from London up to Ipswich for a warm down.
Yeah, but he did. He revolutionised the game. He changed the way that athletes.
Yeah, but fans don't care about that.
Breakfast, I'm Faye Carruthers, and with me is the former Republic of Ireland striker Tony Cascarino. Recognise this one, Cass?
Well, it is Lewis, isn't it?
Leona Lewis.
Leona Lewis, yeah.
Yeah.
The X Factor winner.
Yes, that's it. Bleeding Love. It was the world's best-selling single in 2008, apparently. Do you know why we're playing it?
Well, always on the show, any music artist comes on, there's normally it's a birthday.
It is her birthday. How old do you reckon she is?
It was 2007. I would probably go 42.
Oh, close. 41. You've aged her. She doesn't look 42.
Not a bit of Roy Hodgson.
Going backwards.
Yeah, going backwards.
Backwards in years. Yeah. Brilliant. I actually, I'm not really a kind of ballady, person, but I actually quite like this song.
I'll ask you a question, Faye. Do you like singers that she's obviously got an amazing voice.
Yeah.
You know when they do like gymnastics with their voice, where it goes to such a level, it feels like they're trying to just go even more.
Like a Jessie J, Alexandra Burke kind of style.
Where they've got unbelievable voices, but they literally will do somersaults with their voice as well.
I mean, I find it incredibly impressive.
Yes.
It's not necessarily for me.
Yeah.
I'm not sure whether, but, I don't know. I've always wanted to sing. My niece is 19. She's got the most beautiful voice. Honestly, it gives me goosebumps.
What type of singer would you classify her in? Would she be good at soul, or was she good at?
She loves musicals. And anything. Beautiful ballads, like really emotional when she sings. It's lovely. My mum is an amazing singer as well, but it's skipped a generation. Me and my sister are terrible.
You're the black sheep of the family.
Oh, without a doubt. Absolutely tone deaf.
Yeah.
I could just about hold a tune, but not particularly well. Well, there's some music coming out of Stamford Bridge at the moment. Let's focus our attention on that kind of drama. In case you've missed what's been going on, I'll just explain it a little bit more. Chelsea head coach Liam Rossini has taken a bit of a stand. He's dropped Enzo Fernandez for the club's next 2 matches. He's vice-captain, remember, Enzo Fernandez, but he publicly flirted with a move to Real Madrid. He was asked in an interview what cities he liked. He said he liked Madrid. Whether that's flirting with Real Madrid or not, I'm not sure, but players use all kinds of things to let people know they want out of the door. But it kind of doesn't stop there either, because Marc Cucurella also openly admitted a reunion with Barcelona would be very hard to turn down. Reports as well suggest that Cole Palmer is disillusioned and looking at options elsewhere. Then to top that all off, earlier on this week, Chelsea announced a Premier League record pre-tax loss of £262.4 million for the last financial year. Wow. It's never quiet, is it, at Chelsea?
Never at the bridge.
No. Is this kind of £1 billion project officially a failure, or is that a bit harsh?
Well, it's, to me, how long does it continue? How much more time do they need to make or prove to everybody that this is working? Now, they churn a lot of players at their football club, many ins and outs, and there's so much uncertainty. And you've seen players also being disrespectful to the manager because Fernandes spoke before this last episode. He'd spoken early in the season about his position. The fact that he said he liked Madrid, I'm not really overly bothered by that. I feel that there's a manager that is in place at Chelsea that the players think he hasn't earned his stripes to be the manager of Chelsea. And they're being disrespectful.
Is it they are being disrespectful?
Yeah, they are.
Because is that their choice to decide that?
No, it's not. But players will go down the narrative and look, and I can pretend and lie, but I know that in my career there's certain people that go, how is he in manager? How's he playing centre forward? How's he playing, how's he our number one goalkeeper? There's lots of questions. And within the dressing room, I think there's an element of, how did Liam get this job? What has he done to deserve it? And I want Liam to do well because I feel like it's gone against the narrative of everyone has to be proven.
Yeah.
We might have a young lad here that isn't, the obvious choice, wasn't the obvious choice for Chelsea, but has got the job. But you've quite quickly seen from players that are so comfortable. Cucurella, the one thing I'd say, should have been dropped as well. Because what he said, I thought was worse. He questioned the club's policy.
Yeah, so let's discuss this a little bit more because, he decided to drop Enzo Fernandez. Perhaps he'd had a chat because he did have a talk with Marc Cucurella. He said that and he was happy with what Marc Cucurella said. Marc Cucurella clearly sold to him that he was very much on board with the project and wanted to do the best for Chelsea. And actually some of this is coming perhaps from the fact that there are older players there that really want to win silverware with the club. And so he was, suggesting that the transfer policy of younger players coming in doesn't necessarily enhance their chances of winning silverware. And I can understand that to a point. You can't come out and say it in that way, but perhaps the meeting that he had with Liam Rossini was more convincing than perhaps the one that Enzo Fernandez had. But additionally to this, it's really interesting the way it's reported in many ways, or certainly how it gets condensed, because it very much sounds to me, and Liam Rossini said in his press conference the other day, this was a team decision. The sporting directors, the club, and Liam, he was part of the process, decided this together. It's a collective. And the way it's being reported is very much that it was just Liam's decision, and that wasn't the case.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of confusing stuff coming out. I'll tell you what I see. I see players not playing as well, and I see a lot of them. So they're not buying into something. I see Cucurella not playing nowhere near as well as he was in the early part of the season and last year. Enzo is a terrific player. He's not playing as well. I see Caicedo not playing as well. I see that across the park. I see Cole Palmer not performing as well. And funny enough, 3 out of the 4 I've just mentioned have been linked away from the football club. So there's a lot of discontent at the bridge. I understand the idea of being ruthless, but I'd want to go to Fernandes and that. Go out and face the fans. See what they feel. Maybe they won't cheer because he's really highly thought at Chelsea, Enzo Fernandez. The fans have been great to him and others. And you go and face the music. I'm going to select you because I know really good managers. I'm not saying Liam's not. I'm not being unfair to Liam here. Go, you get out there and you prove to the fans you want to play for this football club.
But is there a little part where he has to draw a line somewhere?
Yes.
I know it's a gamble.
It's a no-win either way in some ways for Liam, Faye. It is that. And I understand exactly the points that you'd make as a way. But what Liam has to do, he has to be right on this. What he does has to work.
But they're clearly backing him. The club are clearly backing him with this decision. He's part of the decision. He's not necessarily the person that decided that's what he was going to do, but he's now, said, okay, well, let's see whether
I never believe football, though,
Oh, of course.
I never believe upstairs.
Of course.
The evidence and the history of everything in football is...
Everybody within every facet of the club has their own agenda, from players to managers to...
And if it's failing and it's not working and you're getting beat in a certain manner, all words will go, literally, it's fresh air.
Yeah. Well, listen, they need to win at Port Vale. That is for sure at Port Vale. It's at Stamford Bridge, but they're playing Port Vale and they need to win that FA Cup quarter-final. We'll hear whether or not they can get back on track. It's live on talkSPORT at 5:15. Loads more coming up across talkSPORT today as well. So after us, Max Rushton and Barry Glendenning are going to bring you the warm-up. That is from 9 a.m. Then we've got live commentary of our first of 3 FA Cup quarter-finals between Manchester City and Liverpool. Coverage of that game starts at 11. From 3:30, it's FA Cup Game Day Live. Chelsea take on Port Vale, followed by Southampton against Arsenal from 7:30. That's an 8 o'clock kickoff. Following that is Fight Night Live from the O2 Arena. Derek Chisora is taking on Deontay Wilder from 10 p.m. Coming up, we're going to look back on how Woking got on under first-time manager Jermaine Defoe yesterday in the National League. You're listening to Weekend Sports Breakfast on talkSPORT.
If you look at the fact that Chelsea have done 600 million worth of transfers in the 25-26 season and paid 65 million agents fees. Now go look at Aston Villa. Aston Villa have done 70 million worth of transfers, 57 million worth of sales, and paid 38 million pounds in agents fees. So when you look at the ratios, you go, you did 120 million worth of business and you paid 38 million, which is about 26%.
Right.
Chelsea have done 600 million worth of business and paid 65 million. So whilst the numbers look horrible and in the scale of things enormous, in the representative terms of what business has been done, they're not enormous. Now, then you take the losses. Chelsea got 100, however they got it and however they concocted it, they got 125 million pounds worth of profit last year. We know how they did it. They sold their women's team and a whole raft of other things.
I'm going to get to that.
So the PS, well, that was what they were allowed to do, right? And in previous times,
I agree.
In previous times, Man City and Chelsea were allowed to build football teams with impunity, and Newcastle can't. So we all are a product of timing, and we're all a product of opportunity, and we're all a product of creative outcomes based upon the circumstances that we operate in the time that we operate them in. So I look at this and go, yeah, they've made 250 million pounds of losses, right? We are, if they're not worried about it, and they believe they can cover the gap between the PSR and also the consequences of squad cap rules that they put into place, that they've got consequences on already, then that's their business.
But it's up to us to observe it. And if Chelsea are the biggest spenders on agents and the biggest spenders on transfers and have the biggest losses, how on earth can Egbali, Behdad Egbali, who you met recently, and to quote you, is one of the most impressive operators you've ever met in football?
One of the most compelling is what I said. Yeah.
Weekend Sports Breakfast. I'm Faye Carruthers. Former Chelsea striker Tony Cascarino is alongside me. Some of your other headlines this weekend, by the way. Gennaro Gattuso and Italy have agreed to mutually terminate his contract after they failed to qualify for a third successive World Cup. Ben Foakes and Tom Laws rescued Surrey after they were reduced to 65-6 by Warwickshire on the opening day of the County Championship at Edgbaston. And Steven Gerrard's open to returning to Liverpool as assistant to an elite manager, but the club legend has distanced himself from an interim role. Gerrard spoke on the Overlap podcast and was asked if it's a dream of his to return to Anfield.
I've got a brilliant connection with the club, I always have, and probably a stronger connection since I left. They've always been unbelievable. Any help or area I could help the club in, I'd always try and do it if I could. But I suppose what you want to know is, do I want to manage Liverpool at some point in my life? Of course, that would be a dream, but I think, would I be ready for it right now to take it over a period of time? Probably not, but is there a possibility in the future to be alongside someone? Them elite managers that you're talking about.
Would you be an assistant to someone at Liverpool?
Well, it depends who it is and how the conversation goes.
Interesting. Steven Gerrard there speaking on the Overlap podcast. You're a Liverpool fan, Cass. I'm sure you'd welcome back a legend like Steven Gerrard with open arms.
Absolutely, yeah. First of all, he's got to tick the right boxes and got to be good enough. And I would hope one day that Steven Gerrard would become the Liverpool manager full time. Because, you know, Kenny did it and did it brilliantly well. And he did 2 stints. And there's always been a connection with the boot room at Liverpool and people involved. And Steven's had a rough ride at Villa, had a great time at Rangers. You know, football, that's football management. You can't dismiss a guy because what happened at Villa went wrong. You know, he would have learnt a lot in that period. And I do believe he's a very smart man. I've never met Steven, but I've watched him as a manager, and I think he's got a lot about him. He knows what he wants. And can Liverpool deliver with the revenue that they announced this week? Was it 700 million revenue? So they're very competitive now as a club. But I'd hope one day he gets that chance, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure many Liverpool fans feel that way. But it's got to be the right time, hasn't it?
And he's got to, in some ways it goes back to what I said earlier, that, earning the right to get that job as well, not just being a legend at a football club, because that's what Dalglish was. But he proved that he was good enough to win things with Liverpool. And I think Gerrard's a smart man, and one day, if it's put in front of him, of course he'd jump at it.
Well, I know you'll be tuning in to talkSPORT Breakfast on Tuesday morning. From 6 a.m, Ali McCoist and Gabby Agbonlahor are going to actually be joined by none other than the man himself, Champions League winner Steven Gerrard. He's going to be talking all things Liverpool, England's World Cup chances as well, and his managerial future. I don't know what time he's on, but you can tune in to talkSPORT Breakfast from 6 a.m. With Liverpool legend Steven Gerrard, Tuesday morning. Set your alarms. Right, now then, Jermaine Defoe has officially swapped the Premier League spotlight for the dugout after being appointed the new manager of National League side Woking. And it was a debut to remember as well for the former England international. He took charge of Woking for the first time in a thriller against Eastleigh. They looked dead and buried. They trailed 3-1 deep in the second half, but Ollie Sanderson pulled it back to 3-2, and the drama peaked in the 85th minute when Kyan Pennant, nephew of talkSPORT's Jermaine Pennant, slotted home to rescue a massive point. After 90 minutes of heart-stopping chaos, Defoe offered his verdict on the debut.
It's a fantastic finish, wasn't it? Like, do you know what I mean? So I'm happy for him, and hopefully, going forward, he can gain confidence from this, and he can help the team from now to the end of the season.
I know his uncle Jermaine Pennant will definitely be on talkSPORT.
Yeah, explaining it. I mean, I played with Jermaine Pennant.
Did he remind you slightly a little bit of him? Or
yeah, I played
potentially better.
Yeah, sharp. Pennant was, he was a special kid. I think he played against Canton when he was 15.
Yeah.
Then Arsenal hat-trick against, was it Southampton?
It was.
And if you speak to Pennant, he'd probably say to you, I could have done a lot more. Played for Liverpool, big clubs, Arsenal. So yeah, I mean, if it's obviously in the family, in the blood. But if he can become what Pennant did as a player, then happy days.
It was a windy Woking, and I'm delighted to say, joining us now, the man asking the questions there. One of Woking's biggest fans on talkSPORT is our reporter Connor Faherty. Hello, Connor, how are you?
Hi, Connor.
Morning, Faye. Morning, Tony. How are we?
We're all right, thank you. Listen, we often talk about the magic of the Cup. We've got the FA Cup coming up on talkSPORT today, but is there any league in the world that actually delivers more pure chaos and late goals than the National League at the minute?
Absolutely not. And I think Jermaine Defoe found that out all in one game. I mean, he had absolutely everything in that game. Woking were 1-0 up, then they were 3-1 down, and then it was clawed back to 3-3. And as he mentioned to me later on, I reckon if the game had gone on for another 5-10 minutes, they would have won the game. So I think he may as well end now. He's had everything in one game.
Tell us in general, because, you know, you mentioned the goals and the drama, but Woking have had a very difficult time, haven't they, of late? After Alan Dowson, who I played with at Millwall many, many moons ago, was a bit of a legend at the football club. It's a club that's found itself in a bit of a pickle in the last few years.
Do you know what it has? It has, Cass. And you go back to after Alan Dowson, you know, Darren Saul came in. They had their best season, got to the playoffs, lost to Bromley, who are obviously now absolutely flying in League Two. And then it kind of seemed we'd get to a cycle, you know, we'd struggle, sack the manager would then come in, save it, go into next season, and the same thing would keep happening. And again, it happened with manager Neil Ardley, who was sacked in March. It was a terrible start for the club. He then managed to kind of pull it around and work well. But then they began to slip again. And you had the interim managers in Craig Ross and Jake Hyde, who Jermaine Defoe referenced at the end of the game. He's kept them on board. And now they've taken a real risk going with Defoe. But as well as a risk, I mean, it's just so exciting. I mean, speaking to him after the game as well, Cass, you could see how excited he was. You could see how passionate he was. You know, he's taken the decision to come down to the 5th tier, work with a club, as you say, that has kind of had its struggles. It goes on good runs, it goes on bad runs. And, I wish him all the best. And you could just tell how excited and how happy he was. And it was really good to see.
He just loves football. I've worked with Jermaine a few times in broadcasting, and I always thought he might end up in the dugout at some point. He's really football smart, and they're 11th in the table. Obviously, it's a bit late, you know, this stage of the season, but is he the spark that Woking need to kind of climb up this season and perhaps do something special next?
Do you know what? I really hope so. You know, just for him and for the fans. There was over 3,000 there yesterday. The crowd were immense as well. And there's just a real kind of buzz and excitement around the club, especially this week. You know, all the sort of media attention that it's had. It's something that the club aren't, you know, particularly used to. I spoke to the owner while I was waiting for Jermaine to come out and do his media duties. And you could tell, you know, he was just absolutely loving it. Happy for everyone to ask all their questions with Jermaine. You know what press officers can sometimes be like. They want to kind of move them along and get them doing other things, but they were just quite happy to let him talk. As you mentioned there, the season for Woking in terms of, you know, achievements is pretty much over. It's just try and get the top 10. They're too far off the playoffs, and you know, they're safe from relegation. So it's kind of a bit of a free hit for him, a chance to play these final games out, and then it's a bit of an audition for the players as well. And he kind of mentioned it as well, a little bit of an audition for the players to kind of say, look, you know, I want this position next season, and also kind of give him, you know, a few ideas of where he might potentially need to improve and where he's strengthening. Then he gets the summer and he can go again. And I think, you know, there is that belief of he's very passionate, the fans are excited. And I guess you never know. Hopefully, if it all goes well, they can aim for the playoffs next season.
Yeah, just briefly, I think it's a good idea by Woking, as in there isn't any pressure being mid-table. He's got time to spend with the players, keep the ones he wants to, maybe bring in others, but he's not going in there as trying to save the club, you know, being at the wrong end of the table. He's going in as someone who's going to learn a lot over the next, month or two before the start of next season.
Well, that's exactly right. And he mentioned that to me as well. You know, he was saying, you know, I'm still learning as well. You know, that's why he's brought in Paul Bracewell, who he knows from Sunderland, to kind of help him out. And we were talking about the in-game tactics yesterday, because obviously when they went 3-1 down, it was a little bit like, you know, I turned to the managing director and I could see him kind of shaking his head, and everyone was kind of thinking, oh no, what's going on here? But, you know, a little chat with Paul Bracewell, he made the 5 subs. And the youngsters managed to come on, obviously, Jermaine Pennant's nephew there, with the equaliser as well. So he's learning as well. He's still learning on the job. And as you say, Cass, it's kind of like a little bit of a free hit. He's got these games to kind of learn, try and push Woking up the league. As I mentioned there, he's kept Craig Ross and Jake Hyde on, who know the club. They know the team really well, so they can help. And he's got a really, really good team around him to kind of help him navigate and work his way through it. And then, as you say, in the summer, he can decide, right, maybe these players aren't for me, maybe these players are for me. And he can also have a look at his coaching staff as well.
Brilliant stuff. Thank you so much, Connor. Lovely to speak to you on this Saturday morning. Woking fan and talkSPORT producer Connor Faherty with us there. You're listening to the Weekend Sports Breakfast. Next up, we're going to delve into the morning's back pages.
Is it nigh on impossible, Frank, to keep a lid on the hype surrounding Moses at the moment?
No, it's not. And the Zone had a massive rating for the fight. I think it's their highest rating this year for it, so I'm told. So, you know, he's people are well aware of what it, you know, who he is and what a talent he is, and he showed that certainly on Saturday. It was a very mature, you know, performance with a very durable, tough guy. And he'd done a job. He'd done a magnificent job. And, you know, look, that's the future of boxing. He's the future of heavyweight boxing. And I'd have no problem tomorrow making him with Mr. Usyk. I'd make it in a heartbeat tomorrow.
Question, Frank, for you. I mean, we had the other day on Talk Boxing, Nikisa Badarian, who I know you'll know, and he talked about, and you don't need to be taught how to manage and match fights, right? That's not what I'm making the point here. I'm sort of sense-checking what he said. His attitude was, he would, if he was managing Atomy, it'd stick him in with Andy Ruiz in Madison Square Garden, because it gives an opportunity, A, to put him in against another decent fighter to give him another learning curve, but also breaks him into America by doing something Anthony Joshua couldn't do, which is knocking out American heavyweight that has some repute. Is that got some sense in that thinking?
Sorry, who was it who said that?
Nikisa Badarian, you know, Jake Paul's promoter. And,
well, Nikita's a very good promoter, very, you know, and he knows what he's doing. We will be going to America. That's obvious. That will happen this year, and who the opponent is, we'll see. If it's Ruiz or any, I haven't got a problem with him fighting any American fighter at all.
Good morning. This is Weekend Sports Breakfast on talkSPORT. I'm Faye Carruthers. With me, Bromley's finest, Tony Cascarino. Some of your headlines this morning. Thought you were going to say something there.
Well, this association with Bromley is I live there. It's not. Okay. I do know Andy Woodman well, but I'm Gillingham more than.
I stand corrected.
Millwall, Villa.
Millwall's finest, Gillingham's finest,
Chelsea's finest,
etc. All the finest, just the finest man.
Yeah,
Tony Cascarino. Right, something in headlines this morning. Coventry substitute Jack Radoni scored twice in a 3-2 win over Derby County to move Frank Lampard's side to within 8 points of ending their 25-year Premier League exile. Todd Cantwell's goal gave Blackburn Rovers survival hopes a huge boost with a 1-0 victory at Birmingham City. And also in the Championship, Roy Hodgson got off to a winning start in his short spell in charge of Bristol City, with his new side claiming a well-earned 2-1 victory at Charlton. After the game, Roy Hodgson spoke to talkSPORT and gave us his thoughts on being back in football management.
Well, the occasion was very enjoyable for large parts, not quite so much in the last 10 or 15 minutes when we were subjected to a bombardment of balls coming into your penalty area, but I think overall, the team can be quite proud of its performance. I think that, we don't certainly have to apologise for coming away with the 3 points. There were some good moments, there was some quality football played as well, and it gives me some heart that if we can keep that going, we might just improve our position and our status during the last few games.
Brilliant to see Roy Hodgson back in the dugout. Never say never, Cass?
I think Roy would carry on until he's in his grave. He'd want to be being a manager, I just think he's there. He's got that drug.
He loves it, doesn't he?
Yeah, he loves it.
In his veins.
There's nothing wrong with that either.
In his veins. Yeah. Anyway, right, it's okay. It's time for this. This is the first time I've done this show. I listen occasionally on my way to football, but I'm usually not up for this horrific time of the morning. And so I did need it explaining to me just then that this is the Oscars music for Oscar O'Kane, one of our producers here at talkSPORT, who's looking at all the back pages this morning. So this is your specific music, is it, Oscar?
Well, I don't think it's not my specific music, but I thought, obviously my name's Oscar, so the Oscars theme tune probably makes sense.
I like it. What's on the back pages today?
So let's just dive straight into it. We're going to start with Ballon d'Or winner Rodri. The City midfielder, City are hopeful that they want to tie him down to a new contract. It's coming up to a little over 12 months until it expires. Obviously, he's 29 years old. They're keen to keep him on, but I think Pep Guardiola has come out and he's spoken about his desire to want to keep Rodri, but Rodri himself has kind of said that he's spoken out a little bit about his links to Real Madrid and said you can't turn down the best club in the world. Obviously, I think it's a difficult one with Rodri. I think this season he's been a little bit up and down. I don't think he's quite rediscovered his form that he had when he won the Ballon d'Or. But I wanted to get your guys' suggestions. I mean, do you think that Rodri is a player that City should do all they can to try and keep him and try and for the new kind of phase of the Pep Guardiola project with all the new signings that have come in, or do you reckon they should just try and cash in now, especially when he's come out and said that he wouldn't mind going to Real Madrid? I mean, do you ever keep a player like that around the changing room?
Well, I mean, look, certain players at certain ages want to go to certain clubs, and it's quite clear that if that was made available, that Rodri would go. I think there's a lot of noise, and I think it'd probably be true that they'd probably go after Elliot Anderson. So City always move on. They always find players. They did that with Semenya and then Mark Gahey. And I wouldn't be surprised if Rodri did move on because, like you said, he's not been, since that injury, which was a long injury that took forever to recover from, he's never quite looked the Rodri that won Player of the Year in England and the Ballon d'Or. He's nowhere, I say nowhere near, that's unfair. He's not got to that level.
And Faye, I think as well, obviously, Guardiola has said that he wouldn't stand in Rodri's way if he wanted to leave. I mean, are you surprised by those comments at all? Or
no, they always evolve, Manchester City.
Yeah,
they've always. It's not a one in, one out policy, but they very much rotate the squad around. So you've got your key experienced players, you've got younger players coming in, and then selected, marquee signings, if you like. So I'm not particularly surprised by that.
No, I'll just add on to what Faye said, which is true. Absolutely right. Is that also I don't think Pep likes the idea of trying to persuade players to stay.
You're either part of the project or you're not.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Next story that we've got to get into is, of course, Mohamed Salah, the Egyptian king. Now, I just wanted to cast your minds back to December when him and Slot had a bit of a bust-up. Now, Slot's spoken in the pages this morning. Paul Joyce has done a piece in the Times saying that he's got no regrets about how he handled the discipline of Mohamed Salah. Obviously, Liverpool drew 3-3 at Ellen Road just as during a difficult period in their season. And then Salah obviously publicly spoke to the media. He said he felt he'd been thrown under the bus and then subsequently was dropped for the next 3 games in the space of 6 days. But then obviously Salah went away for AFCON, returned back to Liverpool duty, and then Slot has started him in 13 of the 14 games since he's come back. Now, Cass, obviously as a Liverpool fan yourself, I wanted to get your thoughts. Obviously, Liverpool have had an incredibly difficult season, not the season by their standards that they showed last year. Do you think that Salah owes it to Arne Slot to be the man to save the season and deliver a trophy? Obviously, they've got their FA Cup clash against Manchester City, still in the Champions League. But do you think after the poor behaviour that he has showed, and obviously we all know now that he's going to leave in the summer, that he owes it to the club?
Well,
to be the main man to win them a trophy.
Yeah, Paul Joyce has done that piece in the Times and talks about, you know, the regards to the side of Arne Slot. And in the Mail, Lewis Steele talks about time for mighty Mo to save Slot's job. And there is a little bit of truth in that as well, because Liverpool need him to be at his best in the remaining games, because Liverpool's season could peter out very quickly. They got the FA Cup game against Manchester City. They got the Champions League game coming up. They need Mo Salah to deliver, and that could save. So it's a lot of ifs and ands at Liverpool at the moment, and it can't be seen as a farewell tour. You know, it can't be. It's got to be Mo playing his best football. Liverpool need him to do that. Whether he'll deliver, we'll see.
Do you think that Mohamed Salah, do you think he misses a few of the players that he's had before? Obviously, losing the likes of Trent Alexander-Arnold, I think him on the right-hand side, they had a fantastic understanding of each other. I mean, Faye, do you think that with Salah, obviously we now know that he's leaving in the summer, that he should be going all out and he owes it to Slot to just try and win one more trophy? And obviously for him as well, to end his final campaign at the Reds with a trophy for them.
I think he's the type of player that doesn't down tools now that he's announced that he's going. You know, he wants to continue to be, you know, the Liverpool legend that he's been establishing himself as over the years that he's been at the club. So, yeah, I think he will put in maximum effort.
Yeah, and just, again, on what Face is there is like, you've got these major games. Imagine if Salah has a massive impact today and in the Champions League that enables them to get through to the next round. All these sort of things, he can then elevate again, because he's been a wonderful player for Liverpool.
He really has. He's been fantastic. Oscar, you've been wonderful as well. Thank you very much for going through the back pages for us. Really appreciate it. Producer Oscar O'Kane there. Up next, we're going to chat more FA Cup, as well as one of the biggest sporting events in the calendar, the Oxford-Cambridge boat race. You're listening to Weekend Sports Breakfast on talkSPORT in partnership with Volkswagen Transporter. Search Volkswagen Transporter to find out more.
When we look at the end of the season, let's talk about the title race and the run-in. Manchester City and Arsenal going head-to-head. Arsenal, obviously, in the prime seat right now. They've got Bournemouth at home, City away, Newcastle and Fulham at home, a trip to West Ham before they host Burnley and have Palace on the final day. One extra game to be played by Manchester City. They're away at Chelsea. This isn't this weekend, of course. They're both playing in the FA Cup, but when the Premier League does return, Manchester City will be away at Chelsea. They'll host Arsenal. They're away at Burnley and Everton. They're at home to Brentford, away at Bournemouth, and then 2 home games to end the season against Villa and Palace. When you look at the run-ins, who do you favour?
Arsenal. I think they've got a better run-in, and from Arsenal's point of view, if they can't get that done, I'll be shocked. Yeah. I'll be shocked. I think they've been brilliant all season in terms of the way they've managed games, the way they've won games. Going back to that, they've just won games. They haven't been brilliant on the eye at times. Who cares in their camp? Who cares in that dressing room? Just get it done. And now when I'm looking at the running, that is a favourable run-in for Arsenal. They've got the Manchester City game. They can even afford to lose that. People are talking about the final the other day. Well, you can lose that game, and I still back you to win all of the other games anyway. So, if they don't do it, I don't know. They'll never do it if they don't do it this season.
I think it has to be Arsenal, who have a 9-point lead at the moment. Obviously, City have a game in hand. It has to be done. They've won 4 games in a row, Arsenal, in the Premier League, by the way.
Football fans all have stadiums we love, but do any of us have a pitch that we love? It might sound like an odd question, but pitches can be different sizes with big consequences. Why is that? And what are the actual rules? Back when association football started, pitches could be up to 100 metres wide and 200 metres long. That's longer than Ellen Road, not the pitch, the stadium. Anyway, UEFA wanted a standard across Europe for international matches, which became 105 metres long and 68 metres wide. But some clubs have been rebels, not intentionally, but because of the stadiums. Take Highbury, for example. It was 5 metres shorter and a metre narrower, meaning away sides had a challenge to adjust. White Hart Lane was exactly the same. And actually, when Spurs temporarily moved to Wembley, they asked the FA to shorten the pitch. The FA, very offended by the sacrilegious suggestion, said no, which in fairness could have actually benefited Tottenham because when they moved into their shiny new stadium, the pitch was exactly the same size as Wembley's. Today, Forest Pitch at the City Ground is a big un. It's 2 metres wider than any other pitch in the Premier League. But the smallest of all, Craven Cottage, just 100 metres long and 65 wide. No excuse for not tracking your man. There are a couple of crazy outliers in Europe too. At Napoli's home ground, the Stadio Diego Armando Maradona, the pitch is a whopping 110 metres long. At least they don't play on a slope like Newcastle do. There's a 2-metre incline on the pitch at St James's Park, and don't get me started on the old pitch at Yeovil too. It used to be a slant of 2 metres corner to corner and across the halfway line. So UEFA have their standards, so do the FA, but they do give pitches in England some wiggle room. Pitches can be anywhere between 90 and 120 metres long and between 45 and 90 metres wide. I mean, the rules state you can't have a square pitch, but in theory you could have one that's 91 metres long and 90 wide. Imagine rocking up to play a Sunday League game and the pitch is basically a square. So there are rules and regulations on sizes, with a UEFA standard that roughly everyone follows, but as we all know, size doesn't matter, does it?
Very good morning to you. This is the Weekend Sports Breakfast on talkSPORT. I'm Faye Carruthers. With me is Millwall Hall of Famer Tony Cascarino.
Good morning.
Coming up today on this FA Cup quarter-final Saturday, 3 games for you coming live on talkSPORT, starting with Manchester City against Liverpool. And Pep Guardiola says he wants to see a dominant performance.
We have been 7 in a row, 4 finals, 3 semi-finals, the FA Cup. So Liverpool, and with our people, hopefully they can come help us join the title that we won and reach in a semi-final.
That one kicks off at 12:45 here on talkSPORT. Down on the south coast, Arsenal take on Southampton, looking to keep their treble dreams alive. And ahead of the game, Gunners boss Mikel Arteta expects a tough test.
We're going to play a team that is in a really good moment. They won so many games recently. It's in a really good moment. You know the expectations, the crowd, the environment that they're going to create. So we are ready for that.
That one is also live on talkSPORT today from 8 p.m. And it's a huge fight as well tonight as two of the heavyweight greats, Derek Chisora and Deontay Wilder, face each other at the O2. Chisora's manager and head of Queensberry Promotions, Frank Warren, joined talkSPORT this week and said whatever the result, he expects this to be a final walk for both men.
Chisora retires after this fight, win or lose, and the same with Deontay. This is the last hurrah for them, so hopefully they come out the ring safe, to both of them, and they'll make a few quid. And I think they should call it a day after that.
Just a reminder for you can hear Chisora against Wilder live on talkSPORT tonight from 10 p.m. Now then, give us a call. Drop us a WhatsApp if you like as well this morning, 03717 223344. You can text us on 81089 as well. We've got all the previews coming up on the weekend sports breakfast here on talkSPORT. It is Easter weekend, Cass.
I know.
Have you got eggs planned? Are you an Easter fan?
Well, there's a couple of eggs in the cupboard at home, but they're not for me. They're for my 10-year-old son. Mm-hmm. But I certainly will nick some.
I bought those little, the eggs with the toys in them. Kinder eggs, because my husband's taking my little boy over to Wales today, and to see some of his cousins, and so they've all got those.
Tell me,
I'm trying to hide them.
When you was a kid, Faye, right, and I'd go back to we used to get a lot of eggs.
Yes.
Right. Always. We didn't get one. We got a good number.
Stash.
Yeah, a stash of eggs where you'd literally keep eating chocolate for 3 or 4 days. Luckily, I feel like now we're getting away from that.
Yeah.
We're going, no, just one egg, but then the neighbour will get an egg, or a friend will get an egg, and then Granny or whoever get an egg. And it's just the chocolate thing. It absolutely costs a fortune now.
I know. I've just got my little boy's called Ted. I've just got him a gift.
Not Edward.
He is an Edward.
Edward, yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
but we call him Ted. But
it's got to be. I've got a Ted. I've got an Edward.
How did I not know that?
Yeah, I got
all these years that I come
and
on your
he
show.
is a Ted.
And he's a Ted as well.
Well, yeah, no, but he is I mean it as he looks.
Same as my Ted.
Yeah, you think he's a Ted. He's not an Edward.
Yeah. But he's got the choice when he's older.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's why we did it. How did we never know this? The thing is, when I normally come on this show and speak to you, I'm talking about England or something else, and we never get into this kind of stuff. And when we've been out on talkSPORT nights out as well, we're talking about other stuff. But I love that. That's brilliant. But we bought him an actual a game. Right. So he wants to learn to tell the time. So we've bought him a what's the time, Mr. Wolf game, because I don't want him to have chocolate, because he has one tiny bit of chocolate, and at 4.5 years old, he's a nightmare.
Oh, yeah.
Honestly, he's just runs around like a lunatic.
Yeah,
so. No chocolate. And anyway, I don't have to deal with the chocolate. I've bought the chocolate. I don't have to deal with it today.
Are you a little bit of secret chocolate?
Yeah, but I'm not really supposed to have milk.
Oh, right. What, you're really dairy-free? Or... Yeah,
so I like some of the dairy-free ones that they do. They're all right. But I try and avoid it where possible, because if I have one tiny... Look, the pick and mix has been left out this morning, and I've had about 7 bits of pick and mix, and it's only just 7 a.m. That's utterly ridiculous, but I've got a sweet tooth. It's dangerous. Right, let's talk about Arsenal, shall we? Because the quadruple dream died at Wembley, but Arsenal's hunt for a historic treble remains alive. The Premier League leaders are travelling to St Mary's for an FA Cup quarter-final against Southampton. They're heavy favourites, but the Saints are on a 14-match unbeaten run. Who'd have thought that at the start of the season?
Yeah.
They're going to be desperate to pull off a classic cup upset on home soil as well. Mikel Arteta is no stranger to his Arsenal side getting knocked out on the South Coast after their 4th round defeat way back in 2021, if you can remember that far back. And ahead of this one, despite his errors...
Errors.
What a word to stumble on.
I thought you were going to say arrogance.
Despite his errors in the Carabao Cup final, Arteta said Kepa is more than ready to play tonight against the Saints.
I don't know if he needed it, but he had it, just in case. But from all of them, his teammates first, then myself, all the staff, and hopefully all our supporters. I don't think he needs it because he got so much experience and he's been through all kind of different scenarios in his career, so he's more than ready to play.
He has played in the FA Cup, Kepa. I spoke to him after the Mansfield win. But how important is it for Arsenal as a whole, particularly with the narrative that tends to build around them whenever they lose? How important is it for them to bounce back after that Carabao Cup defeat?
Yeah, it was a weird one because there was so much negativity after the performance. And look, people do question the idea of should it been the number one goalkeeper and obviously Raya. Look, Mikel Arteta has to get it right now until the end of the season in all competitions. He's got to get a lot right because fans were so disappointed in the performance. For me, it wasn't just the Kepa error. Of course, it made an impact on the game because they go behind. But it's more to do with the performance was nowhere near what Arsenal fans would expect of champions and people who are not Arsenal fans. I think the big excitement for me going into this game is that I will get another opportunity because I'm pretty sure he'll play as Dowman. You know, and we've all talked about him and he's a 16-year-old. I was at the game when he got his first Premier League goal, and I would say that he's probably at the moment the most exciting Arsenal player that lifts the fans immediately, and he's hardly played.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But it's become that because when he got his first goal, it was a performance you come away and you went, wow, that I've seen something very, very special there. And he'll play tonight.
Well, he's going to have to because we don't know on the fitness of Saka, but he had to pull out of the England camp. We know that Noni Madueke walked out of Wembley with his knee in a boot, so you know he probably is going to play. And you know there's a good piece in the papers about him today as well.
Yeah, there's stuff about him, and Jack Wilshere talks about him as he's better than me, and says and thinks it's an error to ignore the fact that you should take him. And I always say this because you can find an example of somebody else, and the somebody else is Theo Walcott. When at 17 went and he probably shouldn't have. I think you're going to see Dowman quite a lot between now and the end of the season in different competitions, and we're really going to know how good at this moment in time he is, because we all know he's a huge talent. You can see it as soon as you watch him play. You don't have to see him dribble the ball, and you know he's capable. I saw him literally rip a team apart in 15 minutes on his own, but I'm led to believe that Arsenal, a lot of these players already know. I remember seeing Damien Duff and Robbie Keane come into the Ireland team at 17, and when I first saw them, I thought, and me and Noel Quinn had this conversation, literally said, well, that's us done. With Damien Duff, and not so much him, but watching Robbie, because we knew at 17 they were going to be the next players to come in.
But this is what I always find fascinating with the next players off the production line, how everybody within the club has, whispers about, wow, have you seen him in training? Have you seen this kid?
Oh, yeah.
But then obviously for that to then translate onto the big stage doesn't always happen. So when it does, it gets everybody even more excited, and he's definitely a very, very exciting player to watch. Look, we're going to build up to this game. It's an 8:00 kickoff live on talkSPORT. Southampton against Arsenal throughout the day. We've got commentary from Alex Crook and former Southampton and Arsenal winger Perry Groves, and as I say, we'll be building up to it throughout the day. Also, though, we are building up to the Oxford and Cambridge boat race, because the historic Tideway is calling once again. They're prepared to go oar to oar in the 171st men's and 80th women's boat races. 200,000 fans are expected to line the 4.5-mile stretch from Putney to Mortlake to witness one of the oldest and most gruelling sporting rivalries. For more on this, I'm delighted to say joining us is talkSPORT reporter Nick Ellaby. How are you doing, Nick? You all right?
Hi, Nick.
Yeah, morning, Faye. How you doing? All right, Cass?
We're good, thank you. Listen, this isn't today, it's tomorrow, isn't it? Sunday, and the weather's expected to be a little bit unpredictable.
It's today.
It is today. I thought.
Yeah, it's live,
I thought so.
live on Times Radio between 1 and 4.
That's what I thought. Okay, so tell me about it. So the women are chasing a staggering 9th consecutive victory. What can Oxford do to break the dominance this year?
Well, yeah, it's sort of boat races, obviously seen as kind of a posh and a niche sport by a lot of people, but the amount of commitment and also the talent involved from the students, and there's a lot of international rowers in both crews today. And we're expecting really choppy conditions. So that might actually help, certainly Oxford men. So you've got the women. There's a real kind of almost a decade of Cambridge dominance. The women, Cambridge women are going for 10th win in a row. But that's expected to Oxford probably going to win a tight race there. They've got a fantastic president called Heidi Long, who won a bronze in the Paris Olympics. And then in terms of the men, I mean, the Cambridge men's squad, they're talking about this is probably the deepest squad the boat race has ever seen. The Cambridge men's boat is stacked full of internationals. And potentially they would have been thinking about the record if it wasn't for quite a windy day. So we're expecting really choppy conditions. We had a veterans race and a reserve race on the river yesterday. So it's a stretch of river on the Thames in London between Putney and Mortlake. And actually what we're expecting today is that first section near Fulham Football Club to be really, really choppy, because we're having gusts of up to about 36 miles an hour. And then the river is flowing the other way. So I'd say keep your eye on the start of the race. 2:21 the women go, 3:21 the men. And possibly some good news for Oxford is their cox, a guy called Tobias Bernard. He's actually from London and has raced this section of the river his whole life. So that could give Oxford, who are very, very unfancied, a bit of a chance. But I would expect to see Oxford win for the women and a Cambridge win for the men.
Interesting. What about the weather? Because I can't work it out at the minute.
It's not going to rain, I think. I think we should escape the rain, but it's the wind that makes the course difficult. And that is actually what makes this race, the boat race, so exciting and intriguing. Because usually when you see rowing races, especially most people would have seen them at the Olympics, they're always on quite calm stretches of water, often a lake, a man-made lake. But this being on the River Thames itself, what happens is they're racing up the river, but it's on an incoming flood tide, so they're going with the currents. The quickest bit of the river is in the middle of the river. Obviously, you've got crews on either side. If one of them get a full boat length ahead, they can then turn and try and take that centre section of the river. Last year, there was a crash in the women's race right at the start. Matthew Pinsent is the starter, and he actually stopped and restarted the race. Oxford want it like this, but we could see, seriously choppy conditions. We could see a bit of coming together depending on the tactics. But a boat hasn't actually sunk in the boat race since 1970. So, we're not expecting any of them to actually go down or anything.
Well, that's good. I'm very glad about that. Thank you very much, Nick. Appreciate it. Good luck to the Saints today as well against Arsenal. talkSPORT reporter Nick Ellaby with us there. Times Radio, as a reminder, are going to be broadcasting the 2026 boat race from 1 till 4 p.m. today. Presenter Jane Mulkerrins is hosting a special edition of her Saturday afternoon show live from Putney Riverside, bringing you the atmosphere, expert analysis and exclusive interviews as well with rowing royalty. That is available globally, by the way. You just need to download the talkSPORT app and you can swipe across to Times Radio. Right, next up, put the kettle on. We're going to enjoy our weekly cappuccino with Cascarino.
Thomas Tuchel's thrown Foden's World Cup hopes into doubt with some comments that he made to the media. Gabby, here's an interesting one. He was excellent in camp, but he struggles to show it on the pitch. He was so good in training, and I thought he will just surprise us. But yeah, he struggles to have the full impact. It was put to Tuchel that he could not take a struggling player to the World Cup. I can, he replied, but the question would be if we will. It's not a guarantee that he will come. Now, to be fair to Phil Foden, I think there's only about 5 or 6, well, maybe 5 or 6, but there'll be more, about a dozen guarantees.
Yeah.
But there'll be about maybe 6, 7, 8 that aren't guarantees. And I think Phil Foden has now come into that category, Gab. I mean, we've got to be concerned for him, don't you agree?
I think the problem for me, Ali, is that his form for Manchester City has been incredibly bad for Phil Foden. You know, he come on in the 90th minute, Ali, in the cup final against Arsenal. Got 0 minutes in both games against Real Madrid.
I know, mate.
In his last 11 games, Ali, he's only played a total of 183 minutes out of 990 available minutes. 0 goals this year. We're already in April, Ali.
Yeah.
And even for his country, Ali, he's not performed. He's only got 4 goals in 49 England caps. He should be at his peak now at 25. Never done it in an England shirt. And those comments from Thomas Tuchel, I look at them and I say, Thomas Tuchel likes you. He likes the career you've had. He likes you as a player. He's brought you into the squad, even though you didn't deserve to be in it from club form. And you look like, at the moment, it sounds like a training ground player.
The talkSPORT 20k giveaway.
This is Weekend Sports Breakfast live on talkSPORT, on YouTube and your smart TV with me, Faye Carruthers, and former Nancy striker Tony Cascarino. And it is competition time now. We are officially under 1 week to go for your chance to win £20,000 right here on talkSPORT. That's 20 grand, tax-free, straight into your bank account. Spend it, save it, or splash it. The choice is completely yours. Here's how to enter for your chance to win. Text WIN, W-I-N, to 83338. Texts cost £2.50 plus your standard network rate, or you can call 0343 418 7260. Lines closing on the 9th of April 2026 at 4 p.m. That's when you'll need to answer your phone if it rings. 18 plus, UK residents only. This is a network promotion. Full T's and C's at talksport.com. To be a chance to win £20,000, text WIN, W-I-N, to 83338 now. Right, Cass, you know what we're here for. It's time for this.
A cappuccino with Cascarino on talkSPORT. Yummy.
Yes.
Jill has just messaged in to say, OMG, just made a cappuccino, as you said that, Faye. So, let Jill enjoy her cappuccino.
Yeah,
Cass, relax. Take it away.
Well, it's been a disastrous week for the Italians, okay? And as I was thinking in midweek, has it got to this position where Italy haven't qualified in 3 World Cups in a row? Extraordinary. And the demise of Italian football, club level as well. It's beyond belief. And obviously, I got an Italian background. Just not with a name, but my Italian ancestors lived in the Elephant and Castle, come down from Scotland, Edinburgh. And I wanted to cheer them up with a little quirky story. Italy won the World Cup in 2006. and they were a superb side. And I was at Vegas in 2006, just after the World Cup. And I go in the queue to the swimming pool because you had to go to, like, they had a booth and then there was a guard there. And when you go to the guard, you have to produce your room key to go into the swimming pool at the Bellagio. And just in front of me was Gianluigi Buffon. Okay, so he's in front of me. And he was speaking broken English and trying to get in. And the woman in the booth is saying to him, "You can't come in. You've got to go and get your room key." And he's like, "I don't understand." And I'm thinking, you've got the World Cup winning goalkeeper. He's just won the World Cup. He's in Vegas after the World Cup. He's trying to get into the swimming pool with his towel, but he's forgot his key. So I said to the woman, "Can you, do you know who he is?" I just sort of jumped in. She went, "No." And I've gone, "He's the World Cup soccer world champion. He's the goalkeeper. He's a big star." And she went, "I don't care who he is, he ain't coming in." And I'm laughing. I'm thinking, America still, and this is 2006, and look, the growth of it in football, especially women's football in America, has been enormous. And I kept thinking that it's still quite well behind because he's the World Cup. Imagine the Super Bowl winner standing at a booth in Vegas and going, "I left my room key," and then someone saying to him, they don't know who they are, going, "You got to go and get your key. You got to go and get your room." He literally marched off with his tail between his legs, with his towel, he couldn't get in the swimming pool.
That is amazing.
And I always found that really funny about America, and because you walk out the hotels in America, like when we played there in '94, you went out for a walk and you walked around. No one out knew. They'd say to you, they'd see you in the green dress and say, "Why are you guys here?" And you'd go, "We're playing the World Cup." And, "Oh, World Cup, what's that? And you'd have to say soccer. And then they'd go, "Right, and what country are you?" They'd ask you what country they were from. So generally, they didn't know much about soccer, about the World Cup and at that time. And, of course, he wins it in 2006. And Gianluigi Buffon can't get in the swimming pool.
That's amazing. I wonder, because I'm going to be in Kansas and Argentina are in Kansas.
Yeah.
I think Kansas is pretty clued
Lionel
up.
Messi's so big in, obviously, certain parts. But there are certain parts of America that are different. Pennsylvania, by the way, is massive on soccer.
Yeah.
Out of football, they're massive in Pennsylvania.
Well, Kansas have got 4 teams who'll be there. So I think that they're I think that they're quite clued up because the Netherlands are there as well.
But imagine for Buffon being a world champion.
That's just, how did he take it? That's what
he was good. He was good as gold. Yeah. By the way, I did see him playing roulette, and he was playing $25 a go. So he wasn't, and I felt fair play to him. He's not like this crazy gambler who's won all the, won the World Cup and gone crazy on the roulette. He was playing, but he's playing with little chips for $25.
I'm more of a 2p slot kind
of exactly.
person.
But it was a funny experience being behind Buffon.
And I have to say, I loved the way you just clanged in. I was at the Bellagio, like you are. Nice, Cass. Loved it. Loved your weekly cappuccino. Thank you for that. Jill, I hope you enjoyed your coffee. Our coffees are on the way, by the way.
Yes.
I am not used to getting up at 5 to 4 in the morning, and I need my coffee.
I know, you wasn't happy this morning.
Do you know what?
I get it.
It's not that I wasn't happy. No, it's just that I can't function. I literally can't speak, which is, quite problematic when you're about to do a 3-hour radio show. Right, coming up next, we're going to look back at a thrilling day of EFL action on Good Friday. You're listening to Weekend Sports Breakfast on talkSPORT in partnership with Volkswagen Transporter. Search VW Transporter to find out more.
All right, Cundy.
Hello, matey.
How are you?
I'm all right, thank you.
How you feeling?
I'm all right. I'm okay, yeah.
Gone well?
Yes, so for those that don't know, the hair transplant last Thursday.
Yep.
A couple of days off.
Yeah.
Back in today.
You're looking well, mate. You look well.
So far.
You look hard.
Well, well, the head's been shaved, right? So there's always got the image, haven't you? Like a bit of a thug.
Yeah, you look like you're going to be on like Football Factory or something.
Yeah. But look, it went well. It's such a weird process. I mean, you're in the chair for about 8.5 hours. It's all done.
I mean, that's hell for you, right? You can't.
Oh, mate. Well, they gave me. I fell asleep halfway through it. They gave me sedatives. Yes, I struggle to sit still, mate. But
struggle?
I struggle to sit
Impossible.
Still. Yes, but they're sedatives, mate. They work their magic. But here we go. So the big.
Mate, I like it.
Well, we'll see.
It's the new Cundy.
The new version.
The new version of.
New improved. Don't know about that.
It looks all right, mate. I'm happy with it.
Yeah, well, look, big shout out to the Wimpole Clinic. Thank you very much for what they did. And we'll see the results, mate, over the next coming 3, 4, 5, 6 months.
You've got to have a haircut, mate. What's the haircut look? What's the trim? You
Don't know.
Quiff?
Don't know what I'm going to go for, mate.
You look all right with the old skin.
Yes, I'm not having a hair transplant and then looking like this.
No?
I'm not. No, you don't have a hair transplant and shave your head.
It's all right, though.
Well, for the time being, I've got no choice. Yeah. I've got no choice. This is how it's going to be. All right, so there you go.
You're making me die.
Yeah, it's a bit. I mean, did it hurt? Obviously, during the operation, it's very weird, or during the procedure, very weird, mate. There was one at the back, so I had 3 people working on my head at one time, and I couldn't feel it, but I could feel them. It's a bit like when you had the anaesthetic and a dentist. You know, someone's working on doing something, but you can't really feel it.
Weekend Sports Breakfast live on talkSPORT. Faye Carruthers and former Millwall and Chelsea striker Tony Cascarino with you this morning. Some of your headlines: former European 200-metre champion Adam Jamili has retired from athletics and has joined Premier League club Chelsea as a part-time speed coach. Martin O'Neill believes Celtic would have to pull off a difficult comeback to win the Scottish Premiership if they drop any more points to end their season. And it was a busy day across the EFL on Good Friday. Here's how it sounded across the talkSPORT network.
Just 29 days remain in this marathon championship season, and come the 2nd of May, one of these two sides could be sat on the brink of the promised land of the Premier League. Heading down and goal, it's across the face of goal, chance to drill it in, it's over the line, it's got to be over the line. Bryn thought it made the save, the referee blows, it is in. And it's Josh Coburn. Bannon, he's got Coburn ahead of him. Bannon's still going, finds Coburn at the edge of the penalty area. He's already scored once for Millwall against his former side. He's scored twice. There is the final whistle. And Millwall, the Lions are roaring at the Riverside.
Birmingham 0, Blackburn 1, and it's all thanks to Todd Cantwell. What a finish this was. Coventry shaking hands on the near side of the field. This ground, this club, this team, Scott Minto, is ready for the Premier League. Out to Van Eyck, he delivers a great cross. Randoni is there again. Well, this is the character of promotion winners, surely.
And these are the type of games that will take you to the promised land.
Well said, Scott Minto, most certainly, and Coventry right on the brink now. Cass, it was such a busy Friday, so many games, so many goals.
Yes.
We mentioned at the top of the show, I was at Charlton at the Valley to see Roy Hodgson returning to management. You were at the Riverside to see Millwall get one over playoff rivals Borough by 2-1. A second place in the league.
I know, frightening, and full credit, because I've seen Millwall's last 2 away games at Ipswich, literally torn apart in the first half at Ipswich, come back and get a valid draw. Yesterday, even more so. Borough were more dominant, and Ipswich would seem pretty hard to say, because Ipswich was superb in that opening 45 minutes. Yesterday, Borough, even more. Millwall survived, but got their bodies in front of the ball, blocking, fighting for everything. Whatever he said at half-time was amazing performance in the second half. And Josh Coburn, I thought, the boy Billy Mitchell in midfield run his socks off. He was getting literally run around in the first half, but he kept going, and Millwall found a way. And Josh Coburn's got something pretty unique in his game. He's pretty two-footed, which you don't see that often for someone who's 6 foot, 6'4". Josh Coburn's two-footed. He can hit it with his left and his right, like he did yesterday.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you a little bit more in a second about players going back to their former stomping grounds and making an impact elsewhere. But let's speak to our talkSPORT commentator, Ian Danter, who's always all over everything EFL here on talkSPORT. Morning, Dance.
Hi, Dance.
Good morning, both. How are we?
I love the drum kit in the background with your head kind of superimposed on top of it. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's me behind there somewhere.
Excellent. I love it. Listen, it was such a cracking day yesterday.
Yeah.
And, Cass has been waxing lyrical about Alex Neil and the wonderful job that he's doing at Millwall. We were there earlier on in the season, weren't we? Right at the beginning of the season, you and I. And what is it that is sparking right for them at the minute?
It's a classic case of the whole being greater than the sum of its parts with Millwall. One thing they're doing, they're spreading the goals around up front, whether it's Femi Aziz or whether it's Coburn or whether it's Ivanovic, or they're just finding ways to spread the goals around the team so that they're reliant on more than just one match winner. And it was Coburn yesterday that stepped up. And the second finish was beautifully done, really caressed it into the bottom corner. To get that 3 points at Middlesbrough, to go second and really put the heebie-jeebies up everybody else in that top area of the table. I've said it countless times and I'll say it again. I don't think there's many better fits between manager and club than Alex Neil and Millwall.
Yeah, and look, I've got to give Borough credit. They're one hell of a dangerous side, because first half it was just literally one-way traffic. And Millwall just kept in the game, as in being 1-0 down, because it could have gone 2 or 3 quite comfortably. And you've got to give them credit, because Millwall have beaten a very good side there.
They have, and that's without Hayden Hackney, who was missing yesterday.
They're not clinical, Dance, are they, as a side? They get loads of chances. They just don't convert.
No, that will be a concern for Kim Hellberg, that they're just, at the wrong time, they've just drawn a blank effectively against Millwall, so they've got to get back on the horse pretty quickly. And I'm going to their next game on Easter Monday. They're down at Swansea at tea time. Swansea's home form under Vital Matos has greatly improved since he took charge there. That's our talkSPORT 2 tea time game on Easter Monday, 5:15. So we'll see what sort of response Middlesbrough can put in and Millwall will have played by then, so they'll know what they have to do to either keep pace with Millwall or maybe try and leapfrog them again and go back into second.
I'm just going to ask you on Josh Coburn, how damaging it feels maybe to see a former player potentially ending your automatic promotion hopes. Does it hurt more than a standard defeat, do you think? Borough fans have had a bit of hurt this season.
They'll feel it, the lad that they've had. And obviously he moved, I think it was about 5 million, Dance, wasn't he, to Millwall, something like that?
Something like that. Hey, he didn't mind celebrating, did he?
No, he did. No, especially the second one. Look, you leave a club and maybe someone doesn't quite think enough of you that wants to keep you, and they took the money, and look, they've paid a huge price yesterday because he was the difference. If he'd have been playing for Borough yesterday, they'd have been 3-0 up.
Yeah, well, these are the lessons that you learn as you go along. Let's speak about Coventry against Derby. Frank Lampard's side now 11 points clear. Is it time to give them the title already, Dance?
Well, they're as near as damn it. They have been the best team by most observable metrics and rules. If you just want to look at stats, then yeah, they're the best team. But you just look at Coventry and they manage to stay in games. They keep themselves. They don't lose heart. Jack Redoni is just a magnificent player who's trained on so well under Frank Lampard. They've got a very good goalkeeper in Rushworth, best one in the division. I don't know whether they're going to be able to keep him or whether Brighton want him back at the end of his loan spell. Van Eyck has always impressed me at right back. They've got, again, much as with Millwall, they're spreading the goals around, whether it's Sims or Wright or Redoni or Thomas Asante, that they've got options to score goals. And they've got a vibrant stadium there as well. I don't know whether you've been this season, Faye, but the Coventry Building Society Arena is more often than not sold out. Mm-hmm. You've got 20-odd thousand season ticket holders, which they've never had before, and they are loving it. And Frank Lampard has coached them really well. You can see that Redoni is trained on because of what Lampard is teaching him. You just have to salute it. Having missed out in the playoffs last season against Sunderland, boy, have they, worked from that base, and they fully deserve it. It's been a brilliant.
It's consistency, isn't it? They've been consistently pushing for that, and building. And it looks like they're now going to get over the line. Yeah. And you're exactly right. They're also a team where it's all about the collective. Yeah. So, which is so vital.
And I'll tell you what, yesterday, I don't know what Dance thinks, but it was never a penalty. That Carl Rushmore, never a penalty. I thought he was a great save.
He got fingertips to it. It wasn't a penalty, but thankfully it didn't affect the outcome of where the points went in the end. But I would imagine if it stayed at 2-2, then unfortunately we'd be having a very long conversation about it, and it would lead to the spectre of VAR hanging like the sword of Damocles over the championship. And regular listeners to TalkSport will know that I don't want that.
Oh, well, listen, we differ on that. Let's not get into a big old VAR rant at 7:45 in the morning.
Exactly, it's far too early in the morning.
Can we do the game you were at, Roy?
Yes.
Can we talk about Roy?
Honestly, it was such a delight, Dance, to see Roy Hodgson back in the dugout yesterday. Charge of Bristol City for the first time, got a 2-1 win over Charlton. It was a really strange game in many ways. One of the questions that we've got here is whether interim magic is a real phenomenon, and actually I've done a paper for university on it, and there genuinely is a new manager bounce, but actually it's described as regret without wanting to sound ridiculously geeky. Well, it's actually regression to the mean. What it tends to do is average out of the results that were there previously. However, he's only there for 7 games, so this could be a good thing. He's there to steady the ship, and
remember, Tottenham fans are listening, so very interesting,
and probably loads of Watford fans as well.
What was the outcome of this?
Yeah, they're the exception that proved the rule, Cass. And that's probably what it is with Tottenham. But you mentioned Roy Hodgson there and the interim thing. I was at the Hawthorns yesterday, Faye, and you could say the same about what James Morrison has done for West Bromwich Albion, because they're 5 unbeaten since he went back in there. They hadn't won a game in 2026 under Eric Ramsey. Morrison comes in, starts with 2 draws, then gets back-to-back wins. A good draw yesterday. Wrexham could have won it as well, brilliant save from Arthur Okonkwo to stop Daryl DK netting a winner late on. But that's definitely a new manager bounce there at West Brom. So in the battle with all those teams to try and stay up, that was a very important point for West Brom yesterday. Although, you know, it could have been 3. Wrexham fought back brilliantly from 2-0 down. And that game coming up on Tuesday night at the racecourse, Wrexham against Southampton, either side of the playoffs dotted line in 6th and 7th. That's live on talkSPORT 2's Tuesday night. That's going to be one hell of a game between those two.
And it's going to be fascinating as well, because if Southampton can cause a shock against Arsenal, then they've got a bit of momentum going into that as well. But we'll see how that goes live on talkSPORT later on tonight. You mentioned the relegation battle. Portsmouth and Oxford both picked up draws as well, which, you know, with West Ham doing the same, all the bottom 3 doing that. Blackburn getting a win, which is really important for them. It's probably going to go down to the wire, isn't it?
Feels like it. It feels like it. I mean, Oxford could have won that game against Hull. They had 2 really good chances late on at the Kazam to take all 3 points. Couldn't quite manage it. But Matt Bloomfield, well, not an interim manager, but a new manager, seems to be turning things around slowly. Leicester had 2 gifts at home to Preston, but still could only end up getting a point. So the real winners yesterday down there at the bottom were, as you rightly say, Faye, Blackburn, getting the win at Birmingham through Todd Cantwell. So they managed.
I didn't say who they beat, if you noticed. I'll let you do that.
Unfortunately, my lot's season is meandering towards a fairly nondescript ending. It's going to be mid-table obscurity, which actually at the start of the season I'd have snapped your hand off for in a way, because some of the championship seasons Birmingham City have had prior to relegation were just utterly depressing. You know, 17th or lower. So. Maybe I should be grateful for the fact that we're not in that sort of position this time around. But with all the players that were brought in January, ostensibly for a playoff push, which hasn't happened, then yeah, that's a little upsetting. But there we go. But fair play to Blackburn. You know, they came to St Andrews and James Beadle kept the score down, Faye. It could have been more than 1-0 if it hadn't been for Birmingham's keeper.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. Dance, it's always a delight to talk to you. I will hopefully see you before the end of the season. Take care.
Ciao, Dance.
Bless you guys. Look after yourselves.
Wonderful stuff. talkSPORT's commentator Ian Danter there. Right, up next, we're going to speak to talkSPORT's boxing correspondent Gareth A. Davis ahead of a huge heavyweight clash between Derek Chisora and Deontay Wilder coming up live on talkSPORT tonight. You're listening to Weekend Sports Breakfast on talkSPORT in partnership with Volkswagen Transporter. Search VW Transporter to find out more.
What about Mo Salah? With Saudi in mind, is he now the most eligible free agent around?
It's a strange one because Saudi sources sense that MLS are going to make a big push, and MLS sources think he's nailed on to go to Saudi Arabia. And as a free agent, of course, there might be European interest. I'm told that reports linking him with a move to PSG are wider the mark. They're past that Galacticos era within MLS. A fair few teams have ruled themselves out, such as San Diego, for example, and New York City FC. But there will be franchises in MLS exploring that deal. Some think that Chicago might enter the fray, and others believe that one of the 2 clubs in Los Angeles will be interested within Saudi Arabia. We know the clubs themselves would love to be able to sign Salah, particularly Al Qadsiya, where Brendan Rodgers is manager, Al Ittihad and Al Hilal, Neom FC could enter the picture as well. But the strange thing I'm hearing in Saudi, Jim, is that the clubs would love him. They're going to be able to finance it. They're reliant on central funding, and central deal makers are still actually debating, is there value in signing Salah at his age and at his wage? Last summer, they would have done it because they were negotiating the TV rights and they thought that they could sign Salah and get a really lucrative deal in Egypt. Now the central deal makers in Saudi are less sure whether he's still going to be the poster boy and have a return on investment. So the clubs are all in on Salah in Saudi, but some senior central figures still, I'm told, need some convincing.
Good morning to you. This is Weekend Sports Breakfast live on YouTube and on your smart TV. I'm Faye Carruthers. Thanks for being with us. With me in the studio, lurking at the back post, it's Tony Cascarino. Now, this Saturday, an icon will fall as Derek Chisora collides with the bronze bomber Deontay Wilder. So let's look ahead to the big fight with DAZN.
Big fight build-up on talkSPORT with DAZN. Watch Derek Chisora versus Deontay Wilder this Saturday, only on DAZN. Buy now at DAZN.com.
Right, let's speak to a man who we know is going to have a lot to say about this one. It's talkSPORT's boxing correspondent, Gareth A. Davis. Morning, Gareth.
Gareth.
Good morning, Faye Carruthers. Good morning, Tony Cascarino.
Gareth, I wanted to get straight into this because explain to me more. I want to start with Deontay Wilder because he's had 49 fights, 44 wins, which is a great record, 43 KOs and 1 draw. And I always felt it feels like an enigma, and I don't know what's happened to him along the way because it feels like the last few years have been, obviously he's lost more than he's won, but this great fighter, what happened to him?
Well, I think the trilogy with Tyson Fury took a lot out of him. Maybe not just physically, but maybe emotionally as well, and psychologically. I mean, he's still kind of desperate to put the wrongs right from the 2 losses that he had, the 2 stoppage losses that he had against Tyson Fury. I think they affected him in terms of physically, got battered around in the second fight. It was a draw, the first one, of course, controversially. And then he came out of that. And he had nights in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia against Joseph Parker and Zhilei Zhang, the Chinese heavyweight, when he just couldn't pull the trigger. And he's maybe searching for something that isn't there anymore. He's 40 years old now. Father Time waits for no one. He's always been a zany character. We've seen the explosion that he had against Simon Jordan on Talk Boxing. I've had it myself. I had it in Los Angeles. He was in my face at one point. He did it to Radio Raheem as well. He's a very explosive, very emotional character. And the truth is, he's been very up and down. We don't know if he's unravelling. He's been great to be around all week, but maybe he is unravelling. We'll find out when the bell goes tonight. He's always been an enigma. He's never been the greatest of boxers. He took the sport up late in life to earn money for his first daughter who had spina bifida, ended up at the Olympics very early, won a bronze medal in Athens, and there lies the rest of his story.
Yeah. And Derek, 42. I mean, the promoter, Frank Warren, who spoke out about they can sail off into the wind, made a few quid. Is that really what it's all about? Because I feel like these boxers have got, both of them have got a legacy.
They have. They've got legacy as icons of the sport. As you say, Deontay's been an enigma, but he's been the standout United States heavyweight for the last decade in professional boxing. We've seen him. His name is synonymous with Tyson Fury in that trilogy now. Derek Chisora, again, is another enigmatic character. I mean, I've done a big spread in the Telegraph today on his relationship with Nigel Farage, who I interviewed yesterday morning, and it was his birthday, and it was nice that he gave me time. He's just an enigma. He's been friends with Nigel Farage and UK Reform Party for 10 years, believing in Brexit, a very proud Zimbabwean immigrant into the UK who was the bad boy of British boxing for a long time. The fights with David Hay in Munich at the press conference, the fines that he's had for kissing opponents at weigh-ins and biting them and slapping the Klitschkos. And he's become a cult figure and a serious national treasure. It's all about what both men have left tonight. I make Derek having a little more left, and I make him the favourite. They've been amazing all week. It's been incredible to be around them because they're veterans and they're presidential figures in the heavyweight division. So it's all about what they can deliver tonight, and it's also all about what happens to the loser and the winner as well.
From the outside, briefly on this one, Gav, it doesn't feel like it's going to go a long way either way, because Deontay Wilder has always been someone in the early rounds you feel like he can knock boxers out, whereas Derek, he can go the distance if called on.
Yeah, and as you say, you almost said players there. And these guys
I know.
They are, but they are players. But we often don't call them that inside the sport because it's such a serious profession. It's such an unusual profession. It's such a
brutal one.
A brutal and dangerous one as well, inherently dangerous. And I think that's one of the concerns about both men. Should they really be fighting on much longer than this? Deontay Wilder will carry on if he wins this. He will call out Tyson. He will call out Tyson Fury. He'll call out Alexander Usyk, and he'll particularly call out Anthony Joshua, who may get the fight we never had between those two that's been mooted for 8 years. If he wins or stops Derek in dramatic fashion. But it's all about whether he can pull the trigger.
Just before we let you go, Gareth, can you just clear up this dispute that was happening between the two camps around boxing gloves yesterday?
Yes, I can, Madam Carruthers. What it is yesterday Deontay turned up at the rules meeting when they're having the weigh-ins in the morning. It was ceremonial in the evening. They'd already weighed in, and they've weighed in, by the way, just to tell you, Deontay Wilder is 10 pounds heavier than he was in those two losses to Joseph Parker and Zhile Zhang at 226 pounds. Derek's 266 pounds. That's one of his heaviest weigh-ins. But 40-pound differential. So Derek has the bulk as opposed to Deontay's size, length, and reach. But what happened at the weigh-in, with the gloves, the meeting around the gloves, is that Deontay Wilder produced some gloves that he'd had custom made, and Derek said, "No, we're not having those gloves, and I'm not using them. I won't have you use them because we need to be able to look inside the gloves and what's in them." There was a standoff for a little while between the teams, and Ross Amber, who had some sets of gloves, who is the cut man for Alexander Usyk and others in the past, who's doing Derek in this fight, said, "I've got some gloves," and they agreed on the gloves that he's got for Deontay, because you need to be able to the manufacturers, there's certain gloves that people use, but these were custom gloves, and Derek wasn't happy with it, but they ironed it out in the end.
Right, good to hear. Enjoy the fight tonight, Gareth. Lovely to talk to you as always. Thank you very much. Gareth Davis there, part of our team as well on Fight Night on talkSPORT, which will be with you from 10 p.m. That was a look ahead to Chisora versus Wilder with DAZN. Don't forget you can watch it live this Saturday only on DAZN. Buy now at dazn.com.
Big fight build-up on talkSPORT with DAZN. Watch Derek Chisora versus Deontay Wilder this Saturday, only on DAZN. Buy now at dazn.com.
Yeah, I know, Ali, I got in trouble with you and Cass yesterday because you accused me of basically coming in and causing absolute chaos with the Mark Cucurella and Chelsea story. So I've got another one for you today. I thought, why not just carry it on?
Good on you.
And I thought we'd carry on with Chelsea and Enzo Fernandez, because Enzo Fernandez in the Chelsea firing line. Chelsea players have been unimpressed with his leadership on and off the pitch during the team's dramatic slump in form. He's berated teammates on the pitch, been vocal in the dressing room. Obviously, he's a vice-captain at Chelsea. He's put his own future in doubt. He has hinted at Real Madrid. He then recently has said on a stream whilst on international duty about how he'd love to live in Madrid. I mean, he ain't really playing hard to get, is he? It's giving a little bit desperate. It's not a good look, is it? As a Chelsea fan, you'd want him out if he's behaving like this.
Well, listen, if he doesn't want to be there, it's very, very difficult for the manager or the players, you know, to want somebody in the dressing room and that. They've got the potential to be a bit of a rotten apple, if you like. And I just think there's a few boys, particularly in international duty, they go away and then they get caught up.
They forget, don't they,
Yeah,
their place?
they do. They think that, you know, that these comments won't get back to their mother clubs and things like that. So
say something, Gaddy, though, and Angelina. Real Madrid aren't paying 100 million for Enzo Fernandez.
No chance.
I'll tell you that now. So you better shut up. Unless he wants to go to Atletico Madrid.
Football fans all have stadiums we love, but do any of us have a pitch that we love? It might sound like an odd question, but pitches can be different sizes with big consequences. Why is that? And what are the actual rules? Back when association football started, pitches could be up to 100 metres wide and 200 metres long. That's longer than Ellen Road. Not the pitch, the stadium. Anyway, UEFA wanted a standard across Europe for international matches, which became 105 metres long and 68 metres wide. But some clubs have been rebels, not intentionally, but because of the stadiums. Take Highbury, for example. It was 5 metres shorter and a metre narrower, meaning away sides had a challenge to adjust. White Hart Lane was exactly the same. And actually, when Spurs temporarily moved to Wembley, they asked the FA to shorten the pitch. The FA, very offended by the sacrilegious suggestion, said no, which in fairness could have actually benefited Tottenham, because when they moved into their shiny new stadium, the pitch was exactly the same size as Wembley's. Today, Forest Pitch at the City Ground is a big un. It's 2 metres wider than any other pitch in the Premier League. But the smallest of all, Craven Cottage, just 100 metres long and 65 wide. No excuse for not tracking your man. There are a couple of crazy outliers in Europe too. At Napoli's home ground, the Stadio Diego Armando Maradona, the pitch is a whopping 110 metres long. At least they don't play on a slope like Newcastle do. There's a 2-metre incline on the pitch at St James's Park. And don't get me started on the old pitch at Yeovil too. It used to be a slant of 2 metres corner to corner and across the halfway line. So UEFA have their standards. So do the FA, but they do give pitches in England some wiggle room. Pitches can be anywhere between 90 and 120 metres long and between 45 and 90 metres wide. I mean, the rules state you can't have a square pitch, but in theory you could have one that's 91 metres long and 90 wide. Imagine rocking up to play a Sunday League game and the pitch is basically a square. So there are rules and regulations on sizes, with a UEFA standard that roughly everyone follows. But as we all know, size doesn't matter, does it?
Good morning to you. This is the Weekend Sports Breakfast on talkSPORT. Faye Carruthers with you alongside former Chelsea and Marseille striker Tony Cascarino.
Good morning.
Right, 3 games for you coming up live on talkSPORT, starting with Manchester City against Liverpool in the FA Cup quarter-finals. Pep Guardiola says he wants to see a dominant performance.
We have been 7 in a row for finals, 3 semi-finals, FA Cup. So Liverpool, and with our people, hopefully they can come help us join the title that we won and reach in a semi-final.
That one kicks off at 12:45 live on talkSPORT. Down on the south coast, Arsenal take on Southampton. They're looking to keep their treble dreams alive. And ahead of the game, Gunners boss Mikel Arteta expects a tough test.
We're going to play a team that is in a really good moment. They won so many games recently. It's in a really good moment. You know the expectations, the crowd, the environment that they're going to create. So we are ready for that.
That one also live on talkSPORT today from 8 o'clock, and it's a huge fight tonight as well as 2 of the heavyweight greats, Derek Chisora and Deontay Wilder, face each other at the O2. Chisora's manager and head of Queensberry Promotions, Frank Warren, joined talkSPORT this week and said he expects this to be the final walk for both men regardless of the results.
Chisora retires after this fight, win or lose, and the same with Deontay. This is the last hurrah for them, so hopefully they come out the ring safe, the both of them, and they'll make a few quid, and I think they should call it a day after that.
Don't forget you can hear Chisora against Wilder live on talkSPORT tonight from 10 p.m. Now, give us a call, 03717 223344, or you can text us on 81089 if your team is playing this FA Cup weekend. You're listening to Weekend Sports Breakfast on talkSPORT. We're focusing on the quarter-finals at the moment as well. We've had lots of texts on the EFL too. Mark has texted in as a little bit of a jibe to me as a Luton fan. Hello, Faye. The mighty Posh were robbed yesterday. If there was VAR in League One, Luton's first goal would have been disallowed. He's put love mark on the end of that, but I'm not sure whether he means that at all.
Right.
However, and then talking about the Middlesbrough game, which you were at, Cass. This is from D. Of course, it was a pen. Ref gave it. If the Rams hadn't have had 8 players out, we would have smashed them. That's not the game that I was talking about.
No.
Certain for relegation, same as Millwall. Sorry, I misread that completely. And good morning. Re the Championship. I enjoyed watching Coventry against Derby last night. Proper football. Goalies clearing the ball into the opponent's half. No diving. Good centre forwards. As a Spurs fan, I'm going to be watching more soon. Charlie Farley. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you for those. Keep them coming in. 81089, or you can call us on 03717 22 33 44. Right, let's focus on the FA Cup quarter-finals, though. We've got 3 live games for you across the talkSPORT network, kicking off at 12:45 with Manchester City against Liverpool. Southampton against Arsenal is your late game, kicking off at 8 p.m. But sandwiched in the middle, Chelsea welcome League One side Port Vale to Stamford Bridge.
Here is João Pedro for Chelsea, dribbling towards the edge of the penalty area, onto his right foot, he shoots and seals it for Chelsea.
The owners of the football club are the ones that determine what success is and what they measure it by. What they're saying is, we are going to build with this manager, try and give him an opportunity to be successful.
Wayne has scored! He's done it again in the FA Cup! It's Port Vale, bottom of League One, leading Sunderland.
And it's been really about creating a connection within the group, and I feel you can see we're starting to do that. They're running for each other and they're working hard for each other, and I think that's been really important and the difference to the change in what we've done.
I'll tell you what, this one is the classic kind of David against Goliath matchup this afternoon. Kickoff is 5:15. For anyone who doesn't know, Port Vale are bottom of League One, looking likely to get relegated. But I'm sure they'll be well up for this one against Chelsea, Cass.
Well, I saw the game against Sunderland when they knocked Sunderland out, and it was astonishing. The pitch wasn't particularly great. Obviously, it was at home, Port Vale. This one's at the Bridge against the Chelsea team that's in a little bit of turmoil themselves. So, do I expect Chelsea to win? Yeah. Do I expect them to win comfortably? Normally, yeah. But some big issues for Chelsea as well. People like Liam Delap, who's only got 2 goals this season. I think his last goal was January the 7th against Fulham. He needs to start scoring and putting a bit more of a threat to Pedro and others, because Chelsea invested a lot of money on a lad, and he showed what he could do at Ipswich, and he hasn't quite been able to deliver. But there'll be other players as well within this team, because as what we've seen towards the end of the week, there's been a lot of issues around players and voicing opinion on international duty. We'll see the harmony in Chelsea today if they can get a result. It should be a comfortable victory.
We know that Enzo Fernandez isn't going to be playing. Be interesting to see if Mark Cucurella does. Kepa Arrizabalaga will be in goal, and of course he was at fault for
that was Arsenal.
That was Arsenal. What am I talking about? I'm going. Do you know what I'm doing? I'm going back about 5 years to the Carabao Cup final.
I know.
Where he was hooked off, if you remember.
I know. I remember it well. Yeah, he did. But look, Faye, there's going to be a number of issues, because I mentioned earlier, when really, really top players at Chelsea are not reaching the standards that's expected of them, especially of late. And Caicedo's a terrific footballer. He's one of the most, probably one of the best in world football, winning the ball back, using it, simple game. But he's not shown that for about 12, 15 games at Chelsea. He's just one of a few that have not quite reached their level.
Is Liam Rossini going to make a lot of changes? How important is this?
Well, it's hard to get. Honestly, you're guessing on team lineup, but I think he's got to go as strong as he can. Obviously, obviously we know Fernandes is not going to play. Well, Cucurella, he might have felt he has to play him because he needs results. And let's go down this path, because this now and again in football this happens, I'm pretty 99.9% sure that ain't going to happen today. Well, what happened if Port Vale won today?
Well, it'd be interesting. We were supposed to be talking to Port Vale Hall of Famer and their all-time top goal scorer, Tom Pope, about Port Vale rather than focusing on Chelsea.
Yeah, but what happened if they won today?
Well, I mean,
the repercussions would be enormous.
But would it just be down to the fact that Enzo Fernandez didn't play? Because I don't think it's down to one player.
No, it's not. And you're 100% right, Faye, because this is the thing that we're looking at Chelsea. If you look over the 2 legs against PSG, and we know they're a great side, so, OK, that's the excuse to be beaten like they were, 8-2 on aggregate. But them two performances we saw for, I'd say, for large parts of the first half in Paris. After that, it was one-way traffic. It was like Chelsea were a second division team against an elite side. They were blown away by PSG. Now, they have to show, with all this investment and this continued churning of players in and out of the football club, if they're developing into a top side. And they're not at the moment.
But is that fair to kind of level at them? And you know, yes, we'll look at the worst case scenario if they lost to Port Vale, but say they
won't do. But it just, you know, every now and again this happens in football. You know, where a massive result happens and no one could expect.
Well, I've seen it with Wigan in the FA Cup.
Yeah, they lifted the FA Cup. I see it in Scotland when Inverness went to Celtic and beat Celtic.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it cost John Barnes his job. I'm sure it was Inverness. These type of things happen every now and again.
And John Brady, the Port Vale manager, is going to be desperate to you know,
they're
get
down.
something out of this season. It's been so terrible for them.
Well, they're relegated. You know, they're not going to get out of it. They're way too far off.
4 points adrift of Northampton and 12 points from safety.
Yeah.
But to be fair, they've played less games than anybody else apart from Barnsley. They've played 38 games. So they've got 2 games in hand over Northampton, 1 game in hand over Rotherham, and 3 games in hand over Exeter, who are the team that they are that are 12 points above them. So
yeah,
it's unlikely.
Yeah, it's very, very unlikely. But they can go there with an open mind, you know, feel and try, and also recognise that there was a lot going on at Chelsea. That isn't right, because Chelsea have performed. I mean, have you took watching the Aston Villa away performance by Chelsea, where they literally blew Villa away 4-1? I was thinking, wow, Chelsea going to end the season brilliantly. They look so good,
like a little roller coaster, though.
And from that moment, they've literally gone in freefall.
Yeah. It's funny. Just finally on this, because I want to bring it back to Port Vale, because this is a really special day for their fans going to Stamford Bridge, and as you say, they'll smell blood.
Yeah, then they will, and the fans will love it. And now I'm sure they'll have a good fan base there, and they'll be singing their hearts off, and it will be a great atmosphere. Really, from the Port Vale fans who are going to cheer their team on no matter what, and no expectations from them.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a complete opposite. All the expectation will be on the Chelsea fans of what their team does.
Maybe there is a shock on the cards. We'll bring it to you live on talkSPORT from 5:15. Coming up, the latest odds from Coral. You're listening to Weekend Sports Breakfast on talkSPORT in partnership with Volkswagen Transporter, working with you.
In terms of greatest Premier League managers, because if he does leave, he will go down as one of the greats.
Yes.
What's your top 3?
Sir Alex, Pep, and Jose for me.
What?
They're
Jose Mourinho?
Yeah. What do you mean, Jose Mourinho?
Not Arsene Wenger.
Arsene Wenger was in the conversation.
Oh, you're putting Jose in there?
Yeah, of course I'm putting Jose in there. 5.5 years, three Premier Leagues. Arsene Wenger had
Premier League all-time manager.
22 years he was there, Arsene Wenger. Won 3. Jose 5.5. Won 3.
I mean, in terms of
Sir Alex, because he was there.
Sir Alex is no question, right?
He's the Don. He is the Don.
Yeah.
Right. He's the Don.
Yeah.
Pep's number 2. Can't argue because it's longevity as well. How long's he been there, Pep? Is it 9 or 10 years? I think I'm right in saying that. If it's not 9, it's coming up for 10.
26.
Okay, so 10 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's won 6 Premier Leagues.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, no, but Arsene Wenger changed football.
Oh, he did.
Arsene Wenger, when he come to the Premier League, he revolutionised the game. He completely changed the way we play now, the way the Premier League is, what it's become. Really and truthfully, was down to Arsene Wenger.
Without question, because Arsene Wenger changed the attitude. So I remember Arsene Wenger used to get the players coming in on a Sunday for a warm down, right? And I was at Ipswich at the time. All of a sudden, I was at George Play. He's got us coming in for a warm down on a Sunday. What's all this about? Arsene Wenger started it.
Yeah.
So I drive from London up to Ipswich for a warm down.
Yeah, but he did. He revolutionised the game. He changed the way that athletes.
Yeah, but fans don't care about that.
To Weekend Sports Breakfast on talkSPORT. We're also live on YouTube and on your smart TV as well. I'm Faye Carruthers, with me former Chelsea and Millwall striker Tony Cascarino. By the way, we're playing this. It's Robot Rock by Daft Punk because of a story in the Daily Star with the headline Match of the AI. Apparently, a robot army are going to be deployed at the World Cup to help keep fans safe. A humanoid called Atlas and its four-legged pal Spot will be deployed at designated venues to enhance match operations, fan engagement and safety and efficiency. Now then, Cass, is this a good... I mean, it took us a little while to understand what this story was. It was first written in, and I'm so sorry to out the production team, but it was first written in as a humanoid called Atlas and its gout-legged pal Spot. And we were like, how does a robot have gout? We were very confused.
For someone who has gout, I'm pretty sure if the robots had gout, we got a serious issue.
We did have a giggle, but is it a good idea if you can even envisage what it is going to be, Cass?
No, I'm trying to find it hard, trying to work out what it would actually be. But AI seems to be everywhere, and it's flavour of the month or the year that everything is going to revert to AI. I'm seeing it in football all the time under doing sort of database stuff. And yeah, it's useful to a degree, but I have no idea whether it's going to work, Faye, or not.
We shall see.
We shall see.
I'll be flying out there in a couple of months. I'll let you know. I'll see if I see Spot anywhere. Brilliant.
Oh, it is mad.
Oh, right. Let's check on the latest odds right now with Coral.
The Coral Daily Download on talkSPORT with Coral. We're here for the fans this season. 18+, gambleaware.org.
John Hill from Coral joins us now. How are you, John?
Hi, John.
Good morning, Faye. Yeah, good morning, Cass. Yeah, really good, thank you. You're absolutely right. Yeah, it does seem to be everywhere, doesn't it, AI at the moment, Cass? And I'm sure it's going to shape the future of everything we do. Maybe even replacing this lot. Hopefully, we're all still in the job in the future.
Well, I'm sure we won't be. Don't you worry about that, but maybe for different reasons.
They'll be cheap. They'll be cheaper than you, John, in the gambling
Well, that's
industry.
very true. That's very true.
Listen, we've got a bumper FA Cup quarter-final weekend here on talkSPORT. 4 games, 3 of them today, starting with Manchester City against Liverpool. What are the odds for this one?
Yeah, this is an absolute belter, isn't it? City versus Liverpool. They played some great games over the last few years. Well, in terms of form, it's no surprise, I guess, that City are the favourites here. They're 3-4 to prevail in this one, book a spot in the semi-final. Liverpool 16-5 outsiders. The draw 16-5 as well. I think both teams really will be disappointed with their Premier League campaigns this season, albeit City, still have a slim hope of catching Arsenal. But in terms of Liverpool, they're certainly out of the mix. So big game this, isn't it? City already have some silverware with the EFL Cup victory going their way. So they're looking to complete a double in terms of the cup competition. They're 11-4 City, second favourites in the outright betting for the FA Cup. Only Arsenal at 15-8 ahead of them. Liverpool as big as 6-1 to lift the trophy. So yeah, big game this one at 12:45.
We have got the David and Goliath scenario where Chelsea are taking on Port Vale at Stamford Bridge. Now, how short are they going to be, John?
Well, they're 1-10 Chelsea, which is very, very short. But look, there's a big gulf between these two sides. But fair play to Port Vale. This is what the FA Cup's all about, isn't it? Seeing sides like them progress this far, it's been a fantastic fairy tale. They'll really enjoy the trip down to Stamford Bridge today, whatever the scoreline. There's no pressure whatsoever on Port Vale, but they're 22-1 to keep this run going and beat Chelsea today. This would be one of the biggest FA Cup victories of all time if they could do that today.
Handicap,
so good luck
John.
to Port Vale. The handicap is 3.5 goals. So we're effectively saying Port Vale have got a 3.5 goal start. Can Chelsea win by 4 goals or more? That's the question, really. If they can keep it tight early, who knows? But if Chelsea get an early goal, I think they could get a few.
Well, what about Southampton against Arsenal? I'm sure the odds aren't quite as short there, but Arsenal obviously pushing for the treble, won't want to go out of another cup competition.
No, absolutely right. And the odds on at 2-5 Arsenal. So we expected to win today, but, tough place to go down on the South Coast at Southampton. They're 6-1. The Saints to cause an upset. The draw 4-1, which of course would force it to extra time and penalties in all 4 games, I must say. But you're right, Arsenal beaten by City in the Carabao Cup final, but still a great chance for a lot of silverware this season, so they can't be too disheartened. They're obviously, quite clear in the Premier League title. We expect them to win that. The favourites to win the Champions League as well are Arsenal, so it could end up still being a fantastic season for them. That they won't want to go out today, as you said. They want to keep this treble hopes going. And just on to tomorrow's game, I think it's a real good one, actually. West Ham taking on Leeds. Both sides, obviously, the bottom half of the table, but a chance to get to Wembley in the semi-finals. We make West Ham the favourites here, 11-8 favourites. Leeds still got work to do to stay in the Premier League, as do West Ham, of course. They're 9-5 to prevail, and the draw 5-2. Should be a tight one this tomorrow.
And John, finally racing. Is it Haydock Park, the big ones today?
Yeah, we've got Haydock and Musselburgh, the 2 big meetings today, Cass. And then obviously Easter Monday, it's the big one at Fairyhouse, the Irish Grand National. So looking forward to that at 5 o'clock. We've actually got a British run at top of the betting as well. The Jukebox Kid, the 7-1 favourite to prevail for Ben Pauling. And then a week today, it's all eyes on Liverpool, the Grand National at Aintree, the world's most famous steeplechase. Really looking forward to this. And the top of the betting there, I Am Maximus, who won the race 2 years ago for Willie Mullins. He's the 8-1 favourite to prevail again. So that should be fantastic next Saturday, but some great racing, as I say, before then.
Brilliant stuff. Thank you very much, John. Lovely to speak to you as always. That was a look ahead to the latest odds with Coral 18+. BeGambleAware.org. Please gamble responsibly.
The Coral Daily Download on talkSPORT with Coral. We're here for the fans this season. 18+, gambleaware.org.
Right, coming next, we're going to dive into Manchester City against Liverpool in the FA Cup quarter-final. Kicks off at 12:45 this lunchtime. This is the Weekend Sports Breakfast on talkSPORT.
If you look at the fact that Chelsea have done 600 million worth of transfers in the 25-26 season and paid 65 million agent fees. Now go look at Aston Villa. Aston Villa have done 70 million worth of transfers, 57 million worth of sales, and paid 38 million pounds in agents fees. So when you look at the ratios, you go, you did 120 million worth of business and you paid 38 million, which is about 26%.
Right.
Chelsea have done 600 million worth of business and paid 65 million. So whilst the numbers look horrible and in the scale of things enormous, in the representative terms of what business has been done, they're not enormous. Now, then you take the losses. Chelsea got 100, however they got it and however they concocted it, they got 125 million pounds worth of profit last year. We know how they did it. They sold their women's team and a whole raft of other things.
I'm going to get to that.
So the PS, well, that was what they were allowed to do, right? And in previous times, I agree. In previous times, Man City and Chelsea were allowed to build football teams with impunity, and Newcastle can't. So we all are a product of timing, and we're all a product of opportunity, and we're all a product of creative outcomes based upon the circumstances that we operate in the time that we operate them in. So I look at this and go, yeah, they've made 250 million pounds of losses, right? We are, if they're not worried about it and they believe they can cover the gap between the PSR and also the consequences of squad cap rules that they put into place, that they've got consequences on already, then that's their business.
But it's up to us to observe it. And if Chelsea are the biggest spenders on agents and the biggest spenders on transfers and have the biggest losses, how on earth can Egbali, Behdad Egbali, who you met recently, and to quote you, is one of the most impressive operators you've ever met in football?
One of the most compelling is what I said. Yeah.
Very good morning to you. This is the Weekend Sports Breakfast on talkSPORT. I'm Faye Carruthers, former Aston Villa Celtic striker and pen pincher. Tony Cascarino is alongside me today. Right, here's what's coming up across talkSPORT later. So after us, Max Rushton and Barry Glendenning are going to bring you the warm-up. That is from 9 a.m. Then we have live commentary of the FA Cup quarter-final between Manchester City and Liverpool. Coverage starts from 11. 3:30, it's FA Cup Game Day live as Chelsea take on Port Vale, followed by Southampton against Arsenal from 7:30. And that is followed by Fight Night Live from the O2 Arena as Derek Chisora takes on Deontay Wilder from 10 p.m. All you need to do is download the app and you can swipe between stations to listen. So we start with a cracker this lunchtime in the FA Cup quarter-finals. The early game is at the Etihad. Manchester City will welcome Liverpool for a 12:45 kickoff live here on talkSPORT.
Here's Mamouche, first time shot, brilliant goal. Omar Mamouche has probably won this cup tie for Manchester City.
My first memories about the English football, it was the FA Cup finals, not about the Premier League.
And it is Manchester City who make their way into the quarter-finals of the FA Cup. Szoboszlai in on goal, hits it! Oh, what a goal! What a strike from Dominic Szoboszlai! Liverpool are on their way through. It's another defeat for Brighton.
The maximum out of every single training session and game we are playing from now until the end of the season. And that is the aim.
Liverpool safely through to the 5th round again, the 8-time winners.
Well, it's been a season of ups and downs, I think it's fair to say, for Liverpool. Arne Slot's side well below their usual standards in their title defence, a record of just 6 wins in 16 away league games. They are still in the Champions League, but they face PSG next week. And, of course, they're in the FA Cup facing City today, so a pivotal week in their season, really. Ahead of the game, manager Arne Slot says the amount of matches that they've played this season is the reason for the club's poor results.
That has been our biggest problem this season. Struggling after playing after a good result or a bad result so many games. That has been the biggest issue for this team, and not the games on itself, because we've shown that we have quality players and we are a very good team, but the amount of games have been our biggest issue. And that's why I just said it's interesting for us to see now where we are after 7, 8 or 9 months. We've played much better against them at home. As you said, at Anfield, I don't think we deserve to lose, especially not after our second half performance. Unfortunately, there was a big referee decision in that game as well, the red card on Mo Salah. That didn't went in our favour. But now we have to show if this progress, we can also show that in an away game, because it's usually tougher to play away from home than at Anfield.
Yeah, always tougher to play away from home than at Anfield. And also, I understand his point with the amount of games that they've had, but this is what you have in elite football if you're fighting on all fronts. So you have to be able to manage it. Do you think Arne Slot himself needs to be taking a bit more accountability for how the season's gone?
Well, I don't agree with Arnie that Liverpool are a very good side this season. They've got some very good players. They invested heavily in the summer to improve the team, and the team hasn't been better. You can say, yes, there's a number of injuries, which they've clearly had to certain individuals. Obviously, Isaac has been out for quite a long time now. You only have to look at their results. The one at Brighton didn't play well, I don't think. I don't think they played well at all. Played well against Galatasaray in the Champions League, won that comfortably. Drew at Spurs, didn't play well. Drew 1-1, but didn't play well again. And you're looking at a team that played Wolves twice in 1 week, where they were the FA Cup tie. They lost in the league and won in the FA Cup tie against Wolves, who are bottom of the league. So they've been so inconsistent this year. And that has been the standout feature of Liverpool. Yes, they've got very good players. They've got some players that have seen better days as well. We've seen Mo Salah really have a indifferent season, and it's not making him a scapegoat. There's others in there, and I think it's been a strange year for Liverpool, to say the least.
Yeah, I think so, and there obviously are reasons for that as well. But let's get more on this game and speak to somebody who obviously follows Liverpool as well. You're a Liverpool fan, Cass, but the Athletics Liverpool correspondent is James Pearce, and he joins us now. Morning, James.
Hi, James. Morning, yeah, have you got anything to add there? I mean, obviously you have, but anything else?
Why we've got him on, Cass.
am I wrong?
Absolutely nothing. I'm done.
No, am I wrong to say I don't agree with Arne Slot that they're a very good team this year? I just don't see it.
Well, they've been incredibly inconsistent, as you touched upon there. I mean, we're talking about a team that's beaten Real Madrid, beaten Atletico Madrid, won in the San Siro, beaten Arsenal, who were on course to win the Premier League title. So they've shown they're capable of hitting those levels. But we just haven't seen it often enough. You know, we're also talking about a team that were humiliated at home by Nottingham Forest and PSV in the Champions League, and even a few weeks ago, not beating a Tottenham team at home who are in absolute crisis, and then following up the high of demolishing Galatasaray with a dismal performance down on the south coast at Brighton. So yeah, I think there are mitigating factors for that. I think when you make the number of changes to the squad that Liverpool did last summer, you bring in a lot of players who aren't used to the intensity of the Premier League. I think that has been a factor. Players, like Wirtz, Frimpong, Kirkes, obviously we barely, Isak has obviously been out for a long time. That's another factor. The injuries that Slot's had to deal with that he didn't have to deal with a year ago, when pretty much they had a clean bill of health when they won the league. And then when you throw into the mix new players trying to adapt and established players losing their way, like Mo Salah, like Alexis McAllister, Cody Gakpo, that creates a big problem.
When we look at this game and the season as a whole, actually, James, if Liverpool did go on to win the FA Cup, would that be enough to save Arne Slot's job?
I don't think so. No. I think the biggest thing by a mile is qualifying for the Champions League. Liverpool, of course, are still going for silverware on two fronts with the FA Cup and the Champions League. But when you look at Liverpool's business model in terms of summer plans, the biggest thing is having that guarantee of Champions League football. So they've got that money that they can reinvest in the squad that desperately needs some backup come the summer window. I think you only have to look back over FSG's ownership of Liverpool to, Kenny Dalglish in 2012 won the League Cup, got to the FA Cup final. I remember being sat in an executive box at Fenway Park in Boston when John W. Henry, the principal owner, did a rare interview with the travelling press, and he was asked, if Dalglish had won the FA Cup, would that have been enough to keep his job? And he said no. That was never going to count for anything. It was all about Champions League qualification.
Yeah, that's key. And obviously a player who Liverpool were hoping were going to make the difference for them this season, Alexander Isak, is close to being back in the lineup. How important could he be in terms of Champions League football and in terms of the potential of a trophy?
I mean, potentially huge. I think the big unknown at the minute is how long is Alexander Isak going to need to get up to speed? Because when you go back to the start of the season, of course, there was massive hopes and excitement after that protracted transfer saga finally ended with him joining Liverpool for that British record fee of £125 million. But, he needed kind of 6, 7, 8 weeks to get anywhere near what Liverpool thought they were buying when they brought him in. And then, he had the cruel misfortune of, he'd barely kind of got to that level when he suffered that broken leg in the challenge from Mickey van der Ven at Tottenham in December. So I asked a lot about it yesterday, what is realistic for Isak between now and the end of the season? And he said, of course, you'd be wrong to kind of overburden expectations on him after, 3.5 months out. But he said, he reckons the rehab and medical staff have done a brilliant job with him. He reckons he looks stronger, fitter, quicker than he did before he suffered the injury. He said he could potentially get a few minutes off the bench at the Etihad today, if not be involved in Paris against PSG in midweek. So I think just having him back around will give everyone a lift.
Yeah, and just to add to the points on Liverpool and where they are against Man City, City did the double over Liverpool in the Premier League this season, and the dramatic one at Anfield where Liverpool were leading and City turned it around and won it, really at the death. And do you think that plays any part today?
No, not really, because I think it'll just the dynamic will be different today, especially with it being the early kickoff straight after the international break. I think for both managers, preparation isn't what they would have hoped for. I know Liverpool, from their perspective, they've only had 2 proper sessions, Thursday and Friday, and then you're straight back into it. So I think that there's definitely things Liverpool can learn from those 2 games. I mean, the one at the Etihad, they were soundly beaten 3-0 in November, yet Slot will always bang on and point out that Van Dijk controversial disallowed goal just before half-time would have made it 1-1. Could that have been different? And then, of course, the game at Anfield, Gay probably should have been sent off for pulling back Salah. As you said, Liverpool 1-0 up. Should have had that game won going into the last 10 minutes, left it open and conceded two late goals with Bernardo Silva and Haaland. So I think it'll be tight again today. And it's just the start of as big a fortnight for Liverpool as I can remember, because it's City, PSG, Fulham, PSG, and then the first Merseyside derby at the Hill Dickinson Stadium. And in a fortnight, either the noise over Arne Slot will have died down considerably, or it will have reached kind of fever pitch.
I have a feeling you're going to have a busy couple of weeks coming up, James.
I believe so.
Thank you so much for joining us, as always, the Athletics Liverpool correspondent, James Pearce there. You'll hear Manchester City against Liverpool kicking off this FA Cup quarter-final weekend live and exclusively right here on talkSPORT. Coverage gets underway at 11. Kick-off in that game is at 12:45. Right up next, we're going to look ahead to Southampton against Arsenal in the FA Cup with the Southampton legend. You're listening to Weekend Sports Breakfast on talkSPORT in partnership with Volkswagen Transporter. Search VW Transporter to find out more.
Is it nigh on impossible, Frank, to keep a lid on the hype surrounding Moses at the moment?
No, it's not. And the Zone had a massive rating for the fight. I think it's their highest rating this year for it, so I'm told. So, he's people are well aware of who he is and what a talent he is, and he showed that certainly on Saturday. It was a very mature, performance with a very durable, tough guy. And he'd done a job. He'd done a magnificent job. And, look, that's the future of boxing. He's the future of heavyweight boxing. And I'd have no problem tomorrow making him with Mr. Usyk. I'd make it in a heartbeat tomorrow.
Question, Frank, for you. I mean, we had the other day on Talk Boxing Nikisa Badarian, who I know you'll know, and he talked about, and you don't need to be taught how to manage and match fights, right? That's not what I'm making the point here. I'm sort of sense-checking what he said. His attitude was, if he was managing a tournament, it'd stick him in with Andy Ruiz in Madison Square Garden, because it gives an opportunity, A, to put him in against another decent fighter to give him another learning curve, but also breaks him into America by doing something Anthony Joshua couldn't do, which is knocking out American heavyweight that has some repute. Is that got some sense in that thinking?
Sorry, who was it who said that?
Nikisa Badarian, Jake Paul's promoter. And
Nikita's a very good promoter, and he knows what he's doing. We will be going to America. That's obvious. That will happen this year, and who the opponent is, we'll see. If it's Ruiz or any, I haven't got a problem with him fighting any American fighter at all.
The talkSPORT 20k giveaway.
Good morning. This is the Weekend Sports Breakfast. Faye Carruthers and former Chelsea FA Cup finalist Tony Cascarino with you, and it's competition time now. It's a belter as well. Just imagine what you'd be doing with £20,000. That's right, 20 big ones, because talkSPORT are giving one lucky listener the chance to bag 20 grand completely tax-free. Don't miss your chance to win this huge amount of money. Here is how to enter. For your chance to win, text WIN, W-I-N, to 83338. Texts cost £2.50 plus your standard network rate. You can call instead 0343 418 7260. Lines close 9th of April 2026 at 4 p.m. That's when you'll need to answer your phone if it rings. 18 plus, UK residents only. This is a network promotion. Full T's and C's at talksport.com. So for your chance to win £20,000, just text WIN to 83338 now. Right, let's look ahead to another FA Cup fixture as treble-chasing Arsenal take on Southampton this evening. Arsenal have won both of their last two meetings with Southampton in all competitions, but the Saints could knock out another top-flight side after defeating Fulham in the fifth round. Head coach Tonda Eckhart says that his side are going to be going into this one looking to win against the Premier League leaders.
The reality is that we go into a game to win, and we've always done that. For me, there's no other way. There's no other way that exists. If you drop off that expectation and just put yourself in a role where you say, well, the pressure's on them, and I think you only prepare yourself for bad results. So pressure's on us. We want to win the game, and we'll do everything to do that.
I'm not being funny. If you were going into a football match, particularly a knockout tournament, not to win, there would be no point. So it's a very, very obvious answer.
Stating the bleeding obvious.
Just a little bit. Yeah, we tend to get that quite a lot in football, don't we?
Look, whatever we say, he's turned Southampton around because what their consistency has been since the new year. It's been pretty extraordinary, and they've got them into nearly on the cusp of the playoff spots.
Yeah.
From nowhere.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
And a man who watches Southampton week in, week out, former Southampton defender Francis Benali joins us now. Morning, Franny.
Franny.
Morning, Faye. Morning, Cass. Hope you're both well.
We're very well, thank you. It's so lovely to see you. How do you see this one playing out today? You reckon Saints can cause a shock?
Well, it's a huge task, Faye, isn't it? You know, coming up against the league leaders and the form that they're in, only having lost four games in their 50 matches this season is a big task, but it's an exciting one though, isn't it? You know, we heard Tonda say there that, you know, they've got to go into it to win it. He's turned them around, as you just mentioned, Cass, and it's an exciting time at Saints at the moment. You know, coming up against the Gunners this evening in what is a special anniversary year for Southampton, 50 years since we won the FA Cup, and Saints be wearing that yellow and blue kit that we wore on that special day many years ago this evening. So, let's hope it brings us some luck.
So tell us, Franny, what for you has been the biggest change at the club? Obviously, manager coming in, different ideas, but what have you seen in the performances that you've really enjoyed?
You know what it's like, Cass, as a player. I mean, you know, you always hope that a change of management is going to bring a positive response, and that's certainly been the case under Tonda. You know, I think he goes into the extreme detail, and you know, sort of furnishing the players with every bit of information that they'll need to go out and win a game of football. But as we know, you know, as you start sort of building those runs and keeping a few clean sheets here and there, that belief and confidence runs through the side, and you know, unbeaten in 14 now is a pretty good run to be on. So it's hopefully going to be extended by at least one game come the end of this evening.
What would a win and a trip to Wembley do for Southampton's season? I mean, it's not been the best of times of late. I've got quite a few Saints fans who are friends of mine, and it's not been great fun. What would this do?
Oh, it'd be such a huge lift, Faye, wouldn't it? I mean, the possibility of going there to Wembley on 3 occasions this season is sort of a possibility for Saints as it stands at the moment. But yeah, it's a huge prize, isn't it? The semi-finals and a trip to Wembley. And you know, you get to this stage of the season for clubs like Southampton, you know, you've got to come up against the big boys at some point, and they don't come any bigger than Arsenal at this moment in the competition.
Without a doubt. And can you actually do it? Can you see it?
Of course, yeah. Anything's possible in football, isn't it? We'll probably see some little tweaks to both lineups, I would imagine. Flynn Downs is out through suspension today, so there's a decision there for Tondo Eckert, who's going to replace in the middle of the field. But that's the magic of this competition, isn't it?
Yeah,
we've seen it countless times before, and this would be certainly a huge scalp for the Saints if they were to pull off this one tonight.
Yeah, and it's something you enjoy, you embrace, Franny. These type of cup games. We've seen it in the history of the game that every now and again that unbelievable result would happen, and just enjoy the day and give it your all, and that will serve you. The adrenaline of the team will take you a long way.
Yeah, make no mistake, Saints are going to have to be right on top of their game tonight if they're going to come through as winners in this match. And you may need that little slice of luck as well along the way, as we know in the competition. And one piece of brilliance or a mistake somewhere could be the difference between winning and losing. So all these kind of things keep us as, sort of broadcasters and pundits and supporters on our toes, and I'm sure it'll be a fantastic atmosphere. Any game under lights, and at St Mary's that will be the case tonight. Will be a magical atmosphere, I'm sure, and it's a sellout game, and anyone tuning in, I'm sure, are going to be in for a real treat.
Yeah, have the Saints got a Bobby Stokes though? The guy in 76.
Let's hope so. Let's certainly hope so.
Wish you the best of luck, Franny. Lovely to talk to you as always.
Franny, take care,
all
guys.
The best.
Have a good weekend.
Former Southampton defender Francis Benali there, wishing all Saints fans the very best of luck. Arsenal fans as well, because, we
he's an amazing
impartial.
guy.
Oh, I love Franny. Honestly, the sporting achievements in terms of the stamina that he has, the marathons that he's run, he's incredible. And his daughter Kenzie as well, who I saw at Wembley the other week. She does the announcements for England games. What the money that they've raised for charity is incredible.
I did a gig at Sky with him a few years back, good number of years back, and Franny came in and he'd been training for the marathon. He came in, he could hardly walk.
Yeah.
It was like, you could see, I was like, you okay? And he went, I've been training for the marathon. It's like, you look like you've just done one.
Honestly, he is so fit. It's incredible. Wishing Southampton the very best of luck. 8 o'clock kickoff, that is, by the way, live on talkSPORT, the FA Cup quarter-final between Southampton and Arsenal. And, of course, 12:45, Manchester City against Liverpool, and then 5:15, Chelsea against Port Vale. We've got all of them covered for you here on talkSPORT. That's it from me and Cass. Lovely to see you.
Cheers, Faye. Really good. I was going to say Franny then.
Franny. Brilliant. Lovely to see you. And I won't be here tomorrow morning, but you will be. Sam Ellard in the chair alongside you tomorrow. That is the Weekend Sports Breakfast on talkSPORT. It's been a joy to have you with us. Stay with us, though, because next it's the warm-up with Max Rushton and Barry Glendenning.
When we look at the end of the season, let's talk about the title race and the run-in. Manchester City and Arsenal going head-to-head. Arsenal, obviously, in the prime seat right now. They've got Bournemouth at home, City away, Newcastle and Fulham at home, a trip to West Ham before they host Burnley and have Palace on the final day. One extra game to be played by Manchester City. They're away at Chelsea. This isn't this weekend, of course. They're both playing in the FA Cup, but when the Premier League does return, Manchester City will be away at Chelsea. They'll host Arsenal. They're away at Burnley and Everton. They're at home to